Good evening, chat. Welcome to the Thursday night show. My name is Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I am an attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And with me is joining me Clyde. That's right, chat, Clyde. You know him, you love him. He wanted to jump in. Not really sure why he wanted up here like this, but hey, he is here. So, we are not sure what's going on here with all this stuff, but oh well. Why is the camera like all freaking off kilter? Hold on, chat. This doesn't make any sense. This is dumb. Whatever. Anyways, there we go, chat. We got the Clyde with us tonight, but we have a lot to talk about. Welcome to the Thursday show. We are set for a lot of things here. Episode 155. That's right, chat. Episode 155. I can't believe it. 155 episodes of this nonsense. And you're still here. Almost 3 years worth. We're getting there, chat. We're getting there. So, welcome, everybody. This is a great time. Thank you all for being here. We are live tonight on Twitter. We're also on Rumble. So, Rumble should be up now. If you want to go check. So I try to take care of you guys. Put you on Rumble. Then last on YouTube, and then last but not least, Locals. Guys, if you want to join me over on Locals, potentiallycriminal.locals.com, you get 1 month free access to the promo code WHIPIT. Guys, over at Locals, you guys could sign up for free. You can use the wall, comment things there. I comment on things there. But if you pay $3 a month, you pay for 10 months, you get 2 months free. You get access to the live shows. That's like the of the content. Sorry, buddy. I don't have anything. You get access to the good stuff, the good. You get access to the Monday night show. You also get access to the Thursday night show. And that's right, chat. Some of you might say, well, what's a Thursday night show? It's a show after here. After we're done here, we get to hang out. We have a whole show. It's everything that we couldn't get to here and stuff we're not allowed to talk about here. You might say, well, what can't we talk about here? A lot of things. Buddy, it's just water. I promise, it's just water. I'm pouring some water, and he's like, is that anything good? He's like, never mind. He's like, I could drink water on my own. Oh. All right. So with that said, guys, if you join me over there, we get to hang out. We have a lot of fun. Formula One season is back upon us. We watch Formula One. We hang out and watch Mr. Medicare. We do all that fun stuff. And guys, if you aren't aware who this lovely doggo is, this is Clyde. This is the progenitor of Clyde Coin, which is going to the moon, by the way. Clyde Coin is going to the moon. This is Clyde. He's the goodest boy. Mwah. He's such a good dog. He wanted to come in and say hello. You want to see the teepees? I don't know if he'll let you see the teepees. There you go. You can see the teepees. Got to see the teepees. So with that said, we're going to give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. Welcome. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Guys, some interesting stuff. The I told you so file. We're going to get to that. So if you guys were hoping for some stuff in the Epstein stuff, I got news for you. You're going to have to suffer. It's not going to be fun. Neo Dark Matters, is this working over on Rumble? Yes. And also, chat, I forgot to mention, over on Locals, if you want it for free, you can join the Thursday night chats. You can put anything in there you want. YouTube doesn't, there's no filters. If you guys say things I'm not allowed to say, I won't say them. If you put things up I can't share, I won't share them, but I may laugh about them. So you guys could join me over at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. So you can use the promo code WHIPIT for 1 month free. Okay, real quick, we'll get our sponsors out of the way first. We'll get these guys out of our way. Our sponsors are great sponsors. They take great care of us, chat. First of all, we have the dragonstreasure.com, a haven for tea, soap, coffee, and anime lovers. Use the promo code criminal, get 10% off your teas, your coffee, or your soaps. Sorry, not for your anime. You're going to have to go somewhere else for that. Then maf-arms.com, chat. Yes, maf-arms.com. South Central Florida's premier, and you could say even premium wind chime dealer. Yes, that's how good they are. Remember, chat, it's getting warm outside. I mean, heck, yesterday, actually, hold on, Tuesday, it was 55 degrees outside. And today it's warm. The snow's melting. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. It's time. Got to get those wind chimes ready for when it's nice outside. Got to get ready for those wind chimes. So go ahead and get your wind chimes over at maf-arms.com. Use the promo code PODCRIM and you get 10% off. And then, chat, last but not least, we have Stoney's Bar and Grill. That's right, chat. Stoney's Bar. Clyde, I got to put you down, Bubba Bear. It's kind of hard to do the work one-handed. So, guys, say goodbye to Clyde. He might come back later. Stoney's, home of the $2.50 cans on Thursdays, chat. Yes, you know them, you love them. At 1580 Broadway Street in Rockville, Minnesota. Stoney's is your place to go, chat. Remember, they are still on their wintertime hours. Tonight they are open until midnight, chat. It is only 8:38 over in Minnesota. You have more than enough time to get over about just shy of 3.5 hours to go over and have some fun. So take advantage of it, chat. And then tomorrow they are open at 10 a.m. You really need to get in there first thing in the morning. 10 a.m. is your time. Remember, tomorrow night they have Grunge Box at 8:30. And that's the greatest way to celebrate the weekend if you're over in Rockville, Minnesota. Is over at Stoney's. They're celebrating 30 years as Minnesota's premier biker bar. And actually, chat, we have some mail we have to get into real quick. So I need to go grab that. I will be right back. Give me 1 second. Okay, chat. So this came in, and this was something I found from. This is the way it came in. I was hoping that this is kind of like what a serial killer would write or how they would do it. Not really sure though. And for the sake of things, this came in the PO box. Steel Toe Media. Now, Aaron, I hope your kids were helping you write things because this is like almost like I was like, it's a serial killer sent this to me at first until I read where it came from, like Steel Toe Media. All right. So what's in here, chat? Well, it is from Aaron. Let's see. It's a declaration. It's an affidavit, actually. Yes, I, Aaron Imholt, did actually eat Nick Rekieta's goo. Signed and notarized by Aaron Imholt. No, I'm just kidding. It is a Stoney's gift certificate, chat, for $50. We're going to put this up on the wall. Put this on the refrigerator. It's going to be a monument to my success out there. But yes. Hell yeah. Great. Thank you very much, Aaron. I appreciate it. Your boy didn't do too bad, chat. To quote somebody. All right, real quick, we got another piece of thing. We got a box. I don't know. Well, it's not ticking. Came from Amazon, so I don't think you can send a bomb. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. I should have the explosion clip ready to go so I can just like. All right. Let's see what we got here. Oh, row, chat. Oh, no. All right. What is this? Oh, somebody left a note. It looks like finally you guys are learning. You leave a note, I can actually respond to things. From Icky Foo, it says, please share with Lainey. Well, we would definitely will. Thank you, Icky Foo. And wow. Okay. So we got a couple of things in here. And it says another one for Icky Foo. It says other thing in here. It says, who's a good boy? Oh, depends who you ask. We have snout wipes. And they have kukui oil, shea butter, and grapeseed extract. There we go. That looks like fun for Clyde and Lainey, rubbing their snoots with it. Then we have Snout Soother from the Natural Dog Company. Thank you. We're going to have to try this out. All right. See, guys, when you do the thank you notes, I can give you credit. And then we have oh wow, thank you. You guys are gonna love it. We got chicken and apples. You know what? Clyde, come here, buddy. We'll try one right now. We'll see if Clyde will do it. Come here, bud. Come here. Come on. Hey, Clyde. Clyde, come here. Come here. Hey, come here. Come on. Clyde, hey. Buddy, come here. Clyde, come here. Clyde. All right, Chad, I got to go chase him. Hold on. All right, he wanted to chase, Chad. So here we go. Let's see if he likes this. Let's see if he likes this. Here you go, buddy. Oh. Gonna eat it in my hair. There we go. There we go. I think he likes it. He likes it a lot. So, all right, buddy. We'll have to share some with Lainey tonight. So, anyways, I'm gonna put you back down. Thank you, Icky Foo. We appreciate it very, very much. Okay. I think he liked it. He's starving. He gets fed. Don't you worry. Clyde needs to learn discipline. He does. I think he just gets weirded out sometimes when I have the headphones on. And depending on how things are like hanging off me, I think he gets a little weirded out. Otherwise, he jumps up on us all the time. So not that big a deal. Not that big a deal out there, chat. I know people are like worried about him like recalling and stuff, but you know, that's not the issue for him. That's not an issue. Okay. All right. So real quick, we got some comments to read through real quick. I want to catch us up on. Nico says, why were you on Legal Cocksuckers thumbnail today? Answer the question. Because I was the subject of like some of the stuff that was going on there, and you know, his destiny calls me a penny lawyer, and it's like, penny lawyer or not, he still hasn't retained one in this case. So that's it. KRM 944 says Dan Crenshaw is getting dragged on the Anti-Hero podcast. Yes. Apparently talking about how bad he wants to kill Tucker Carlson and then shying away from the opportunity to do so. Eye Patch McCain is having a bad day, chat. But yes, I heard he's getting dragged. Apparently, Goon Twitter is loving every second of it. And then Parallax, been a member for 28 minutes, says, when is Russell Greer going to add you to his suit with Null? Oh, I don't know. Maybe someday. That would be hilarious if he did. Because then I could start trolling him. And then me and Harding could tag team and we could spit roast Russell. It'd be hilarious. Just rotisserie. Russell the rotisserie. We just spin him around. So, Parallax, thank you. Member for 28 months. Wow. Takes me back. 28 months ago. It's a long time. Thank you. Thank you for being here. EDW Raptor gifted 20 subs, chat. 20. Oh, my God. He is doing his part tonight, chat. Doing his part tonight to pacify chat and bring in the greens. That's right, chat. We're praying the gray away. We're getting those H1 green visas. In fact, we're bringing back the International Brotherhood of Greens, the Green Union. That's right. We have new members in the Green Union. He did his part. Are you doing yours? Something to think about. Because he's doing his part. and it's critical.
Fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you?
Thank you, Raptor, for your support and your generosity. And then real quick, Extreme Happy Simmer says, my friends keep asking when that lawyer's going to do a video on the OhioCon situation. I figure it'll take some time to look into. Yes, I've been a little busy this week, but I will have a chance to read through it this weekend and figure out what's going on. I also heard you were on Chud Logic, moving up in the world. Yes, I am. I was on Chud Logic, but Destiny also talked about me. So I'm like, I'm really moving up. I'm really moving up, chat. So it's, you would have told me when I started doing this, Destiny's going to know who you are and re-etch you. I'd have been like, based. But then I've also been like, how is that going to, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. But here we are. Here we are, chat. I mean, you know, it happens like that. It happens that way. So, you know, people don't think the internet be like it is, but it do, chat. So, all right. So yes, we'll be working on that simmer here. I appreciate your help getting that to me. So let's get started, chat. It's been 15 minutes. I'm sorry. So here we are. We're going to start off with the Epstein stuff, the Epstein files. Like I told you guys, ain't nothing going to happen. It's all redaction. This is what's going on. I mean, really, sorry, chat. You got to file this in the nothing ever happens category. Nothing ever happens category, because this is one of them. I understand, given how things have gone so far, people are like, well, maybe something will happen. It's like, yeah, not for this thing. Not for this thing. I mean, it's just that's not how it works. I wish I could tell you it'd be different, but it's not, and I'm sorry. It is the way it is. Yes, the Mossad got to it, so. But guys, once again, it's a bomb. As I said, it's a bombshell full of mouse farts. That's all it is. That's all it is. And how do we know that? Well, there's clear things here. Steve Godney says, see if I raid Sean again. Well, Steve, I didn't see you come in, man. Sorry, it didn't pop up on my thing, but we had a Gosney raid? Heck yeah. Thank you for being here, Steve. Hope you're doing very well. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Daisy said I headed over here too. Well, thank you, Daisy. I appreciate it. Oh, Vala says, grift that shit half as hard as Kumalot and you will succeed, baby. I don't want to grift like that, though. That's not my bag. That's not how I do. That's the thing. That's the thing here. We don't do it that way. So that's how we kind of roll. Sassy Frass says, getting back to this, the big nothing tells you everything, and yes, you are correct. Yeah. The Gosney Raiders here. Well, guys, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. So, but yes, Steve, it's good to see you, man. Guys, Steve Gosney, author and former public defender down in Florida, is now doing work on the civil side of things, going out there and slaying some dragons. So, good job out there, Steve. I'm glad to see you're hanging in there. Daniel C says the Ricada rates are different. Yeah. Oh. Yes. So let's get back to this, guys. The Epstein files. So what did we see? We saw absolute. Pam Bundy's gonna release. No, she's not. No, she's not. No, she's not. No, she's not. I said it wasn't happening. Guess what happened, chat? It didn't happen. So here we go. We got to see the cringe of these people. They showed up. I've got a binder. Of Epstein files. Okay. You know, like we're showing off what we got. We got like all these dumb fucks. I hate to say it like that, but look. I met with President Trump, J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi, and Kash Patel. My lunch with a souvenir. Okay. The DOJ has everything. The DOJ has everything, but they didn't give it to me. There are thousands of files still held on the SDNY, and they've been delivered to the DOJ by tomorrow. So then why are you holding a binder, brother? Brother? Why? Why? What? Like, why? 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 I mean, and this right here, you got like Chaya, you got Libs of TikTok, Mike Cernovitz, and then this is Rogan O'Hanley, right? I think. I mean, he's got a snazzy suit on. I will give him credit. Suit looks spiffy, but that's about it. And I kind of like how this hat, it says something was about nothing. The Epstein files are about nothing. I mean, it's phase one. Phase one of what? Why not, like, just give it to us? I don't need the drips and drabs. Like, just give us the full money shot if you have it. What, like, why? What does this do for anything? This does nothing. This does nothing. This is just hot garbage, chat. Absolute hot garbage. Once again, as I said before, put not your faith in princes. Put not your faith in princes. It'll serve you better in that regard. And if you really want to see some cope, chat, I mean, the cope. Here is cope in the spoken word. So not just in a tweet, but here is the cope.
Hey guys, this is Savannah Hernandez in front of the White House with, yes, one of those Epstein file binders. Now, I want to clear something up immediately and state that nobody from the Trump admin gave us these binders and said, you guys are going to be the ones responsible for disseminating this information. They actually told us that there's going to be a press conference at any moment now, most likely this afternoon, in which all of the information in this binder is made available to the American public. Now, Pam this morning stated to us that some of the information in here is already public, and she doesn't really feel that any of this information is a smoking gun. The big story here is Pam writing a letter to Kash Patel asking him to investigate why the FBI has stopped the release of other portions of the Epstein files. So that is what is currently going on, and I wanted to come out as a journalist as well and
come out as a journalist and say, wow, we got rolled. This is all bullshit. I mean, that's where we are right now. That's where we are with this. That, a bunch of the stuff you've already got all this, actually. But the FBI, it's like, are people going to get arrested? Like, are they going to get charged with obstructing justice or anything like that? No? Well, then this doesn't... means nothing. Means nothing. This is a game. Yes, it is. I try to tell you guys. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing here. I'm just trying to tell you guys. I told you guys before. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. It's nothing ever happens o'clock. Okay? That's the thing here. Tim Pool says the only thing I trust from Cernovich is his opinion on Thai Lady Boys. Well, I mean, when you're right, you're right. Or Cernovich. But yeah, this is just... these people should be fucking dragged. I mean, and the thing is, like, for a lot of you out there, you were believing them. They had, like, this was going to happen. And they're not out there screaming, what the fuck? And that's the reason why I didn't say anything. Because I'm like, this is going to be bullshit. I told you all it was going to be bullshit. You know, and Poppy was right. So, there you go. Most of the people mentioned in phase one are dead. Yes, Island. And that's the other thing, too. None of this is, yeah. Nothing special here. Carly Ellison says, he who's free of sin may see the first file. Oh. The FBI is working him just like Whitey Bulger. That probably, yeah, I mean, wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me. Oh. Those pages of black boxes were seriously interesting, yes. Justin Hancock says, if it's a circle jerk, how do I get to do it? Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if it is a circle jerk, why not join in? Because hey, at least then it's a circle jerk. So, the redacted guy is a menace. Yes, the redacted guy. It's only phase 1, Sean Ree. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, when there's more, like WikiLeaks does a better job of releasing stuff, and they try to like just drag us on here. But yeah, like they're holding these up like they're goddamn trophies, and it's like about a child sex ring that basically like if true, vindicates the whole Alex Jones, the cabal pedophile vampires thing. Like it would validate it, and they're like holding these like, you know, like they won a Publishers Clearinghouse check. I mean, seriously. Also, I mean, like I get we're in Doge mode right now, but these are like the binders I do trial prep with. Like, why couldn't they get like fancier printed out binders? It was like, is Elon like, nope, Office Max supplies only? Like, just saying. And like it's declassified. They've already been declassified. I mean, it's just seriously, like I told you guys, like this is all garbage. Don't trust any of it. Yes, the most transparent administration in history. Well, we'll see about that. Like I said, guys, a lot of stuff I told you I wasn't waiting for Trump to come to us on, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You know, there's things he's done. I told it's like I didn't think he's going to do X, Y, and Z, and some of them I've been wrong on. Some of it I've been right on. So we shall see what happens there. Rumors are that Bondi is a greenie. Well, yeah. So, when Vivek is your governor, Ohio man, he'll get it released. God. I don't know if I want. I'm so worried. I'm so worried about that. I'm so worried about that. Oh God, Vivek is being our governor. God, that scares me. He's probably gonna fucking win too. Now, like I see how things are shaking out. What the hell? The cat was trying to sneak in and like snuggle up to the computer. Ooh, it does feel warm. That was weird. I just felt like my foot sitting there, and I just felt like a cat, like a paw going like, I'm just gonna scooch right in there. I'm like, what the hell? And I look over and it's a cat, and Clyde's just sitting there looking at me like, can I eat more of those treats, fat man? I'm like, later, buddy, later. Go on, go play. I'm like that dude in Ninja Turtles. Go play. So, yeah, lips of TikTok beans. There's nothing to see here. Yeah. Yes. J-Rock, you're correct. There's 78 more phases left, Sar. We need more time, Sar. Oh. So, yeah, but are those at least D-ring binders? Probably not. These look like they're the 1.5 inch binders. Like that, because that's what I use normally. Ohio's current governor is Felix Flinken. Your Clyde voice is hysterical. Well, I assume that's how he talks. Just wait for phase 69. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. What I want. Bella says they dance with their binders. From what I saw, that was AI generated, but it doesn't change anything that they're treating these like they're serious fucking trophies. So yeah. So. We're going to do 2 weeks of phases to reduce the cope curve. No, chat. No, I don't want that. Yes. Release the crackhead. That's who's going to save it. Hunter. It's going to save his Hunter. Yes. Phase 420, blaze it. But yes, chat, that's a thing. Don't, like I said, I told you nothing happens, and look what happens nothing. So something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind as far as things go. This is going to be an interesting story. I think this sounds like this is something that's going to go to trial, by the way. I'm looking forward to this. I just saw this. Sleazy's saying, who got felt? What happened to Smash JT? Let me know. Anyway, this is going to be an interesting case. I saw this and somebody sent it to me. So this mom killed her son saying he wanted to die. And if this goes to trial, this is going to be super interesting. So this woman told police she killed her son because he didn't want to turn 18, which I'm not sure I buy that because there's no indication this kid was like dying of cancer or some sort of crippling disease. But this woman, her name is Karen or something crazy. Katie Austin Lee was arraigned on an open murder charge for the killing of her son at their apartment. Now, the way it works in Michigan, the idea of it being open murder, it would be something for a jury to decide whether she committed first or second degree murder. But based on this, it seems pretty intentional. I'm just saying. So the police had to show up for a stabbing, and she said she couldn't get her son. This is the interesting part. The mom says to dispatch she couldn't get her son to stop breathing. Now, typically, that's not what happens. You normally are trying to keep that person breathing, or you can't get them to breathe. So it's kind of different. It's a little bit of like a reverso. She threw down the reverso card. She advised her son asked her to help him stop breathing, and he had been trying for a while. And her son asked her to help him stop breathing because he did not want to turn 18. I mean, is this what happens like Peter Pan? He's like, I can't age. Just kill me now. Peter Pan gets closer and closer. He looks at Tinkerbell and he's like, just, put it like pixie dust through my head. Like a bullet. You got to make those air holes. Yeah. Aaron says maybe she misspoke. I don't know. Based on what's alleged here, I don't know if she did. So she told police that she used a knife to cut her son after he passed out. And she cut his throat and stabbed him in the arm. So she said she and her son both tried to overdose on medication around 1 p.m. I mean, did she start listening to emo with him? Son, let me share with you the story of emo. And it just kind of took her back and she's like, we have to die, bro. And he's like, I got you. And they both tried to overdose. It's interesting. She cut him after he passed out. When the police showed up, she was holding a large kitchen knife as she threatened the cops. She didn't comply and she ended up, they tried to tase her. And then she was eventually tased after acting like a lunatic. She stated officers were supposed to kill her so that she could be with her son. So he was dead at the scene, which makes sense. That typically happens when you get your throat slit. So apparently she went and talked to the public defender's office before the hearing. And it's like, so we'll see what happens. Well, she was disabled and she did not work. Well, it's like, apparently she put in that work though. So it's kind of interesting how that, this looks like this will be a good story, a case. This is a case here, chat. We will see something interesting go down. Yeah. Yeah, something interesting here, chat. Yeah, she might have misspoke. Yes, this is in Holland, Michigan, the tulip capital of the world. Iman Reza said she was white, they couldn't shoot her. J-Rock says this will be good like a plea bargain. I don't know if this one's going to take a plea bargain. She sounds psychotic. Nate's like, yeah, the kid was like, Mom, can you cut me chicken tenders? Wait, why do you have a knife? No! Oh, gosh, that's, Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, he didn't want to turn 18. He didn't want to pay taxes. Like, yeah, 1 second, son. I gotta put on My Chemical Romance. Oh, I mean, there's all kinds of things she could have done. She could put on some All Time Low. There's like all kinds of emo groups that she could have done. The Price of Eggs will do this. Yeah. Yes, forget spaghetti if she made him death for lunch. And you're not cool unless you have a suicide pact with your mom. Yeah, I know. It's like, my dad could kick your dad's ass. My dad could kick your dad's ass. Well, my mom will kill me if I ask her to. That's how cool she is. And the kids are like, ooh. So just something we'll have to keep our eyes on. It's gonna get interesting there. Um, as far as what happens. Also, I know some of you are asking because it's out that way. Christopher Schur, he's the police officer who ended up shooting the guy from Grand Rapids in the head as they were fighting over a gun and taser. He's set for trial April 28th of 2025. So we got a couple months for that still. But I just want to let you guys know something we were talking about, something that's out there. But yeah, it should be very interesting. Surely there were no SSRIs involved. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah, no. So it'll be interesting. Mom probably told him he had to move out of the house. Yeah, I guess maybe. I guess, but I'm not really sure. So Destiny loves me. I don't know if I want that love. I don't know if I want that love because I'm not going to send him any naked pictures. So Mickey Steins, yes, he is. His case is still chugging along. I don't know if there's any updates yet in that. We'll have to take a look. Oh, but yeah, that is oof. Wow. Like I said, guys, some of this stuff gets weird out there. Some of this stuff gets weird. Moving on to some things in California. We got a couple California things to address here. This is going to be an interesting one because at first when you hear about it, people are like panicking. Oh no, California is getting rid of self-defense. It's like, but are they? But are they? And the answer is not really. So this is what's being proposed in California. It's California bill AB 1333333333333, and it modifies the self-defense law. Now, if you guys didn't know this, California actually has a very robust self-defense law. It's actually one of the better ones in the country. You're allowed to engage, you're allowed to chase after attackers, meaning you're allowed to press an attack in certain situations. California's got a pretty strong self-defense law, surprisingly. So they're changing things around here. And if you live in California, this does suck. But this being proposed, and anything in red, if you guys are looking at this, that means they're going to get rid of it. And anything in blue is kind of how they're amending it to work and look around. So we're going to just do this in a way you guys can read it and understand it here. So they're talking about homicide is justified by any person in all of the following cases. And that's really changing to any or all. That's really not important here. And it says when resisting any attempt to murder any person or to commit a felony. So they're now removing to committing a felony. Or to do some great bodily harm upon any person. So now they're removing the ability if somebody's committing a felony, you no longer have that ability. And, there are inherently violent felonies. But you could probably also argue this great bodily harm thing. How does that work, though? Because committing a felony, does that mean you could any felony? But what about the inherently violent ones like burglary, arson, robbery, rape, kidnapping? You could argue those might cause great bodily injury. Maybe. Maybe. It's not clear what this would change that to. And that gives me concern because some of those might not cause, depending on how it's argued. And it says, when committed in defense of a person against one who manifestly intends or endeavors in a violent, riotous, or tumultuous manner to enter the habitation of another for the purpose of offering violence to any person therein. Now, this is something here, you can do this. This is typically the standard of using defense in your home. Is the idea is that person entering or intends to enter in a violent, riotous, or tumultuous manner. So that part's there. If somebody, and that's the idea, is if somebody just walks into your house, you can't just go, and zap them. They have to be entering in a violent, riotous, or tumultuous manner. Now, there are times where, yes, if it's done under cover of darkness, or there's some things that may create a presumption that person was intending to do harm. But just merely walking into someone's house, you're not allowed to shoot them. And I think you guys would all understand that and agree with that. You can't do that anyway. So it's got to be in a violent, riotous, or tumultuous manner. Now, what did they get rid of? Well, you can't do it when it's committed in defense of habitation. So defense of your home. Well, what does that actually mean, though? Because they got rid of it here, the defense of property. So there are times where you can defend your property. Like in Texas, you can defend property at times with lethal force. But pretty much everywhere else, you're not allowed to use lethal force to protect property. Now, if you're inside your home and somebody's outside sitting there with a Molotov cocktail, you are allowed to kill them because there's a reasonable belief that person's going to cause you harm. And, you're inside your house. You're not expected to be forced to go stand outside your house and let the guy burn it down. You're allowed to use force. So they modified a little bit of it here. And while it doesn't look good, it gives you concern because what are they trying to do here? What are they trying to change? They talk about it. They talk about some other things here. When it's committed in the lawful defense of such person or of a spouse, parent, child, master, mistress, or a servant of such person, when there is reasonable grounds to apprehend a design to do some great bodily harm and injury and imminent danger of such being accomplished. Now, this is about the defense of others. You're allowed to do this when that happens. You're apprehending the design, meaning that person trying to commit great bodily injury or the imminent danger. What they're removing is to commit a felony. Now, the way that's worded, does that mean if somebody was committing forgery, I could kill them? Because that's technically a felony. Now, also look what they get rid of. Or to do some great bodily injury and imminent danger of such design being accomplished, or the person in whose behalf the defense was made, if he or she was the assailant, or engaged in mutual combat. You must really and in good faith have endeavored to decline any further struggle before the homicide was committed. Now, that's actually good. That removing some of that's actually not a bad idea here, but they're saying in a way, it sounds good, but this is also a problem here. That if you try to disengage, that's not going to be acceptable anymore. Which I think is a problem because if they're removing it, are they saying you're not allowed to have that anymore? So there's concern. I argue there's concern about what this is meant to actually be. A little vague. So, when necessarily committed in attempting by lawful ways and means to apprehend any person for any felony committed, or in lawfully suppressing any riot, or in lawfully keeping and preserving the peace. So this means no citizen's arrest, I would argue. But also it means if you did it in lawfully suppressing a riot, somebody dies, you could be held liable for that murder. It's no longer a defense. So what does that mean? That sounds like that's being used against the police, that they have to be very careful about how they do things. You guys are making fun of the side piece being protected. Well, you have to. Because guess what? Those lead to dangerous situations. Just because you're stupid on somebody doesn't mean you get to get killed. Now, this is the interesting parts here. When is homicide not justifiable? Meaning, under these circumstances, there is no excuse, and you can't claim a defense. when you're outside of your home and you know that using force is likely to cause death or great bodily injury, and that could have been avoided with complete safety by retreating. So there is a duty to retreat when you're outside of your home. This one makes a lot of sense, though. When the person used more force than was reasonably necessary to defend against a danger. I mean, that one's pretty, like, duh. You aren't just allowed to do that. Like, you can't just use unreasonable force. That's not fair. Like, using unreasonable force, remember, we talked about this before. One of the major things about using force, it has to be proportional to the threat. So if a guy starts like slapping you, you can't just shoot him. You have to respond with the proportional force. So this one makes this one actually makes a lot of sense. Now, this is where they kind of go off of this part up here. And it says when the person was the assailant, engaged in mutual combat or knowingly engaged in conduct reasonably likely to provoke a person to commit a felony or do some great bodily injury, except if either of the following apply. They reasonably believe they're in imminent danger of death or great bodily injury and had exhausted every reasonable means to escape such danger. Meaning you have a duty to retreat, and they're talking about it. As long as you use every reasonable means to escape. But what's a reasonable means? That's not clear. And it says other than use of force likely to cause death or great bodily injury. When they say in good faith, the person withdrew from the encounter with the other assailant or assailants and indicated clearly that they desired to withdraw and terminate the use of any force, but the other assailants continue to resume the use of force. So there are times where you get to do that. If you are in a fight with someone and you engage and then you say, look, I'm done, I quit. Now, as in the middle of the fight, it's not necessarily that easy. But if there's a break and you've made it clear you're leaving and they come after you, well, now they are the aggressor and now you are the defender. So yes, there's a I think this could be read there's a duty to retreat in your own home here. But remember, they say above you don't have to, and that's the thing here. When you go back up, you don't have to use a duty to retreat because when it's committed in defense, of a person against one who intends to go into a riot or tumultuous manner, enter the habitation of another. So there isn't an idea you have to retreat. But it does cause concern when you're outside the home. You don't have the right to, you have a duty to retreat now in California, like so being codified. So be careful out there, Californians. Be careful. Be careful. Meme Copium says it's happening. Nothing ever happens. It's very true. Hi, Meme. Thank you for being here, guys. Meme Copium, friend of the show. Check him out tomorrow morning. Hopefully he goes dino hunting and is a little more like even keeled as he does it. Oh. Yes, after you exhaust all other means. See, I don't think that's the way that's worded here. Because they talk about it when you're outside the home. And then this becomes an issue here. Because notice this is where this would applies, Maddie, when you're saying it's in the home, though. When the person was the assailant engaged in mutual combat. Or you engage in conduct knowingly likely to provoke a reasonable person to commit a felony or do great bodily injury. Except if either of the following things apply. You've exhausted every reasonable means as such, escape that danger. I think that becomes the issue. If you engage in mutual combat, then you have problems. But otherwise, I think you would be okay. But that's going to be, I agree. That leaves you with the issue of, does that mean that? I don't know if that does. I would argue it does mean that, but that's, once again, it's going to be a bit of an issue there. So if you're in California, be a little careful. Be a little careful right now. Be a little careful. Now, moving on to other California things here, the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric. You guys remember they were convicted in 1995 of brutally murdering their mother and father in 1988 with a shotgun. Allegedly because they were being molested, and and the prosecution thinks it was just to take their money. They were tried once they were tried in 1989, and then with a hung jury. They were tried again in 1995, and they were both convicted. They were both sentenced to life in prison. Now, they've been basically in custody since 1989. They were arrested very shortly after everything happened. They've been in custody forever. They've been in prison this entire time. And we talked about this weeks ago. They sought, and through the family, for a resentencing. They wanted the courts to take a look at the case again and resentence them. And initially, George Gascon, the former district attorney for LA County, was all about it. He said, yes, we're going to support this and look into it. Well, he lost the election, and the new guy took over. And the new guy is a guy named Nathan Hochman, and he came out and he laid down the law about what's going to happen here. And I will give you guys a little bit of what he talked about here, because it does show you that a prosecutor is a political entity. And it's something you have to keep in mind, because, you know, they sway with the winds. They sway with the winds. So here we go. And we're going to skip around in this thing here and just some of the important clips about what's going on in the Menendez Brothers case. And they're going to oppose it. Spoiler alert, they are opposing the bid for a new trial and a sentencing, resentencing.
As promised, after I became district attorney on December 3rd, we have put in the hard work to understand the Menendez case. We've reviewed over 50,000 trial transcript pages from 2 months-long trials that the Menendezes had back in the early 1990s. We also have spoken to defense attorneys. We've spoken to the prosecutors. We've spoken to law enforcement. We've even spoken to every Menendez family member who wanted to speak with us. So we've done the hard work to understand the Menendez case. And right now, the Menendez case is on 3 parallel tracks. The first track is a habeas track. That is a motion that was filed in May of 2023, where in that motion, the Menendezes are saying that they have effectively new evidence. And we'll get into this in more detail in a moment.
And he talks about the new evidence. And real quick, guys, the new pieces of evidence are 2 separate things. One of them is an undated letter from Eric to his cousin, Andy Cano. That is from like 1988. And it details years of assault that Eric is alleging that their dad, Jose, committed against him and Lyle. And then the second one is a declaration from a guy named Roy Rossello, who used to be a member of Menudo, that, you know, the Latin boy band that Ricky Martin and all those guys were in. From 1989, he claims that he was raped and assaulted by Jose Menendez as well. So those are like the 2 new pieces of evidence they're alleging are out there.
New evidence that militates and warrants and justifies a new trial. The second track is a petition for clemency that the Menendezes have taken directly to Governor Newsom. Governor Newsom has the constitutional power, and it's unilateral, to grant that petition of clemency and commute the Menendezes' case and release them immediately. He has that power today. He's had that power since 2019. He can exercise it. However, he has no deadline. There's no court hearing, and there's no appeal from his exercise of that power. And the third track is a track called resentencing. Resentencing is a somewhat California notion. There's not too many states that have a resentencing statute. The resentencing gets triggered by a district attorney's motion, or in some circumstances, the motion of a court. And that motion, unlike a habeas motion, where a habeas motion will focus on the trial itself, a resentencing motion focuses on that trial but goes beyond that and deals with rehabilitation and other factors. Today, we're going to focus in 2 different things. The first is, in order to explain the procedures that the Menendez case has gone through, we have created a video that can be accessed at our website, which is da.lacounty.gov. Again, that's da.lacounty.gov. And that video actually does an anatomy of the Menendez case. And it takes the case from the murders itself back on August 20th of 1989 through the investigation into the charges that were filed and the arrests, Then it looks at the motions that were filed by the Menendezes prior to the trials. Then it looks at the first trial, which resulted in hung juries. Then
and that's the thing, chat. They got hung juries there. And then moving on from here, they talk about with the evidence they have, you have to show a couple different factors. One of the things is it's got to be new evidence that's timely discovered. There can't be a delay in filing it once you learn about this evidence. Fourth, it has to be admissible evidence, because remember, if it's not admissible, you can't use it. And it's got to be credible, because remember, if it's not admissible or credible, you can't really use it at trial. It's not going to work. So even if it's timely and it's new, it's got to be admissible and credible. But if it's any one of those four fails, it's done. You have to have all four. You can't just get 3 of 4. You can't try. You can't do any of that. Now, this is explaining what happened here, and this is him explaining what's going on.
Well, if this letter, supposedly dated December 1988,
and this is talking about the letter that Eric wrote to his cousin, detailing tons of sexual assaults by their dad. And he's going to explain why this isn't, he's going to explain why this fails.
Written by Eric Menendez to Andy Cano, is to be believed, and that it was actually sent at that time. Here's what we know. We know that Eric Menendez, during his second trial, testified for 7 days.
And if you didn't know that, that actually happened. Eric Menendez testified for 7 think about that, chat. One person testifying for 7 whole days. And it's not like a science expert. It's the defendant testifying for 7 days. Like, guys, this trial, when you read about it, it is like absolutely, like, I only could imagine if we could have seen it. That this, like, the second trial was crazy and everything that happened.
About graphic descriptions of the sexual abuse that he had encountered by his father between the ages of 6 and 18. He also talked about sexual abuse that his brother Lyle had experienced by his father between the ages of 6 and 8. That evidence was brought in, and he was asked about who he spoke to about this sexual abuse during that time period. He said he had spoken to Andy Cano. When did he speak to Andy Cano? He said when he was between the ages of 12 and 13, and Andy Cano was approximately 10 years old. That was before Eric Menendez moved from New Jersey to California, roughly 6 years before these 1989 killings.
So his point is, Eric had already discussed with his cousin in 1983 stuff they talked about at the trial later.
So Andy Cano also testified in the trial, and Andy Cano relayed the same information, that he had had this conversation with Eric Menendez 6 years before the 1989 killings, when he was 10 and Eric Menendez was either 12 or 13. They spoke several times that year, and that was the only conversations they had about the sexual abuse, only communications they had. So now we have a letter filed in May of 2023 that is supposedly a 1988 letter written from Eric Menendez to Andy Cano about this sexual abuse, never discussed in any of the 2 trials when Eric Menendez testified or Andy Cano testified. And we believe it's inconceivable, as we've argued in our papers, and defies common sense, that if they had evidence that would show that sexual abuse had been communicated, not just...
And so this runs into the issue of, is this new evidence? And their argument is not really. And that's why they're opposing it. This came out. So it's not new evidence. And the other issue is, chat, this isn't an original letter. This is actually a photocopy of a letter that isn't authenticated as far as date and time. So it creates a problem about what happened here. And as we go forward in this a little bit more, he explains some other issues that are pretty big problems here.
So what you find in the motion is Eric Menendez is saying, I didn't know about the letter until effectively a 2015 special by Barbara Walters, where this letter had been given to her, and she actually broadcast this letter in 2015. But remember, this motion, this habeas motion, this second habeas motion, was not brought in 2015. It wasn't brought in 2020. It was brought in 2023. So one of the additional standards for a habeas motion is that you do.
And this is the thing, you have to bring it timely. There can't be a delay from when you learn about it till the time you file. In this case, it was 8 years. So let's pretend it was new evidence and it was timely discovered. It took him 8 years to file. Problem. Those are big problems here. And then the last little bit of this chat, just so you can understand where we're at with this, I just think kind of highlights where I get the prosecutors laying out why they are opposing this.
Letter to give you an idea how the admissibility standard works. The letter has to be, it has to comply with the admissibility standards of evidence in a court. Now, remember, in 1989, August 20th, the issue is what is going on in Eric and Lyle's head at the time they shotgunned their parents 12 times to their death. Are they, again, have an actual fear of imminent harm and death, that their parents were going to kill them that night? Or was it a willful, premeditated, and deliberate act on their part? What they have said about the Roy Rosello allegations, that he was sexually abused by Jose Menendez in the early 1980s, is that they didn't know about this in 1989. They didn't know about this in 1999 or 2009. They first found out about this in 2022, or approximately 2022, about over 30 years later after the killings. So the evidence, if in fact this is true of what Roy Rosello is saying, would not be admissible to show their state of mind in 1989 because they didn't know about it in 1989. So again, it would fail the admissibility standard, as we've argued in our habeas informal response.
Now, and that makes sense, Chad. Think about it. Just like in any, if it's like self-defense. For example, in a self-defense case, if you're going in and arguing, and you learn later on that the guy you ended up getting into a fight with a guy, and you beat him with a baseball bat, you could say, well, he's a bad man. He's a convicted felon. He just got out. He's on parole. He has a history of attacking people. But you didn't know that at the time. It was just a guy you were hitting with a bat. You didn't know any of that information. Remember, it's about what was in your knowledge at the time it happened. Remember, we don't Monday morning quarterback you, but we also don't let you you're not allowed to take advantage of facts you don't know. It's what was your state of mind, what had shaped your state of mind that moment. Because if it's not involved with what you know, it is what it is. Yes, very true, Luke. This is just like Kyle Rittenhouse, where one of the guys he shot was a pedophile. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't know that. Now, while you might say good for him, he got what he deserved, great. But at the time, Kyle Rittenhouse didn't know that. It was just the guy chasing him and attacking him. So all Kyle Rittenhouse could say is, I shot that guy who was chasing and attacking me. Brad says, if it was abuse, why did they shotgun the mom? I think that's a bit of an issue there. I think they were basically arguing she was complicit in letting it happen. But yeah, that's why that also kind of kills their, no pun intended, it kind of kills their arguments that they were protecting themselves. So, Sassafras says, is sexual abuse not a cause for initiating self-defense? Like, if somebody's trying to cause you great bodily harm, and is trying to sexually assault you, yes, you would have every right to defend yourself. If it's happened in the past, the self-defense doesn't carry on for a year later, and then you can walk up to the guy, like if somebody tries to rape you, you can't just okay, and you get away from him, and you see him walking down the street, you can't just go, you have to be in that moment. And the argument is, at that moment, that wasn't happening, but that these guys had been being abused by their dad routinely, and it kind of created what we would probably call now battered spouse syndrome, where they're like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Something's going to happen. And that's actually something we do now. Battered spouse syndrome, you could argue in different situations and contexts. Kind of like in Johnny Depp. the Johnny Depp trial, they tried to bring in that battered spouse syndrome thing, and you got to do it like that's generally been used as a mitigating factor, turning like murder into manslaughter a lot of times. Now there are times where people have tried to use it as a complete defense, but it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. LPR is saying their mom was having sex with them as well. I don't know if that was ever confirmed. I think there's more credence to the idea dad was abusing them, but if mom was too, I don't think I've seen conclusive proof that makes sense. Either way, if that becomes, you've got to almost make an argument of it's happening and like they know it's going to happen, so they've got to like right that second and take him out. And I think that the jury didn't buy that, but also remember this was 1989 and then 1995. Jurors are a lot more like I'd like to say jurors are a lot more savvy, but I don't really know how that would work. Maybe they'd have a better chance nowadays. So that's kind of the issue that we're looking at for them. Now, what does this all mean for them? Well, that means their trial, the resentencing is not going to happen. It's being opposed, so I don't see the court granting it. They're not going to get a new trial either. But the one thing they can do, and the prosecutor mentioned, they are seeking clemency. And clemency, chat, does not necessarily mean a pardon. But they are asking Governor Newsom to commute their sentences. So what has happened here? Now, I think Newsom's gonna, obviously Newsom's got political designs, but he's telling the parole board to assess their public safety risk, which I bet is probably 0. But he's saying there's no guarantee of outcome, which will be done by public safety experts and psychologists. So that's kind of where we... Oh, hold on here, chat. I hate it when these stupid things in its own thing pop up. So what are we looking at here? And they talk about... And also it zooms out. It's a little frustrating. So Eric and Lyle are getting investigated whether it's an unreasonable public safety risk if they're released. The government, and this is the interesting thing, the governor also has a podcast now, and you're like, I don't know if you have that much, how do you have that much free time to be a governor in a place like California on podcast? But hey, I don't like it and the politicians are dicking around too much, but hey, whatever. He's your governor out there. I'm just saying I'd be pissed if Mike DeWine was doing it. So, and remember, we covered this months after their attorneys filed the clemency request with Newsom's office, but days after the top prosecutor said he opposed the overturning of their convictions. And yes, but you guys didn't realize Eric and Lyle are 54 and 57 because they had life without possibility of parole, and they want to be reduced through a resentencing, but that's being opposed. So now Gavin Newsom can release them if he wants to. And also, this is a picture of Eric and Lyle, if you've never seen them, like being all hip and cool. Being hip and cool, chat, that's what they do. Yes, Governor Newsom has a podcast. So, but he says in his teaser for his podcast, the governor said that they will conduct a risk assessment. Well, hey, that's a great way to, chat, Gavin Newsom's good at the grift. He got the hooks into us for his thing. They said the findings of the investigation will be handed over to the LA County District Attorney, and that's the guy we just heard, Nathan Hochman, and he said it to Los Angeles County Superior Court, presiding over the resentencing effort. So I kind of get the feeling he's going to try to let them get resentenced or a new trial before he does the idea of clemency. So I think that's how he's trying to do this, because if he doesn't have to do it, it saves him political capital. Because if he does this, it's going to cost him political capital for one side or another. And it's not clear yet. But he talks about them conducting dozens and dozens of clemency reviews on a consistent basis. But this provides more transparency, which I think is important in this case. And more due diligence before I make a determination. So I think he's going to do it. But yes, this is his tweet where he's talking about his podcast, which, it's so interesting to see this from a governor, like doing a podcast. But hey, you know what? It's 2025. I guess it's going to be, every governor's going to have a podcast, chat.
So we're getting a lot of questions, a lot of calls about something that's getting a lot of attention, unsurprisingly, and that's what's going on with the Menendez brothers. Just a quick update. Today, I just notified the LA DA as well as the Menendez attorney, including victims, that I have directed the Board of Parole hearings to do what we call a risk assessment investigation into their applications, specifically for commutation. The question for the board is a rather simple one. Do Eric and Lyle Menendez, do they pose a current, what we call unreasonable risk to public safety? The risk assessment will be conducted as they typically are conducted by experts in public safety as well as forensic psychologists. We're going to make the findings, by the way, available to the judges presiding over the resentencing motion in LA Superior Court, as well, of course, to the district attorney himself. There's no guarantee of outcome here. My office conducts dozens and dozens of these clemency reviews on a consistent basis, but this process simply provides more transparency, which I think is important in this case, as well as provides us more due diligence before I make any determination for clemency.
So that is the man, the governor himself speaking. So they're grateful for the governor's comments. And I kind of get the feeling that he's probably hinting he wants to let them out. So, but you know, I don't blame the Menendez family, because remember, they all said they're supporting this. Like, all the immediate family that's left that didn't obviously get killed are supporting this. And they're, you know, this is positive news that they're gonna like have a chance to, like, you know, they're gonna have a positive chance to take advantage of this and get a chance. I mean, this is more than most people get. So, you know, if you guys don't remember, they were arrested in 1990, 7 months after their parents were killed. I mean, the guys lived it up, went to baseball games, did all kinds of stuff. And the prosecution disputed the sex claims. They claimed it was all financial. And yes, after running out, Lyle reloaded the shotgun and shot his mom in the face. So we'll see what happens there. A 2-day hearing is later scheduled this month. If they televise it, that'll be interesting. I think if it's worth covering, we'll take a look at it. I don't know, though. I don't know. So we'll see what happens there, but it's something to keep in mind. This is, you know, how is this going to get handled? How are they going to address this? So he will probably let them out. All the not murdered family, yes. All the not murdered family, yes. That's basically how you want to put it. Yes, but when they get out, I'm sure they'll get a great Netflix special. Which it's like, you're like, ooh, I don't know about getting the Netflix special there, man, but I guess. Then moving on from there to another case where we've got somebody seeking post-conviction relief, and it's Adnan Syed. Guys, we talked about him before. He is the season 1 of the Serial podcast. He's a guy convicted in Baltimore, Maryland, or known as Bodymore Murderland, of murdering his high school girlfriend, and he was sentenced to life in prison in Maryland. And due to the Serial podcast, there was a push for having his conviction vacated. They had the hearing where they vacated it. His girlfriend, Heyman Lee, her family wasn't properly notified, so they weren't able to show up. Obviously, they opposed it. The judge granted it. And remember, we covered that saga of them appealing this all the way up. And because the victims were not allowed, they weren't given time to be there, the Supreme Court of Maryland said, this is invalid. He's reconvicted still. He's still convicted. In which I agree, there, you know, victims do have some rights to be heard. But the idea you're going to overturn this from that, it just created a mess of everything. Well, there's a new twist to this. There's a new saga. There's a new interesting part of this saga. And whether or not you think he's guilty or not, if you guys were not following along with this here, it's very interesting what happened. It's very interesting what's gone on with this. So the prosecutors have ended efforts to support the vacating of a sentence. And now it's up to the judge to decide what happens. Now, why is this important? So the judge is set to decide what happens after Baltimore County's top prosecutor said, and remember, they have a state's attorney, they're no longer seeking to vacate the murder conviction. So they're not involved anymore. They kind of bailed on this. Now, the reason why they're petitioning for sentencing reduction, and here's the thing, in California, you can get a resentencing. Well, Maryland's also one of those states that allows for that. They have what's called a Juvenile Restoration Act, which allows individuals who are minors at the time of their crimes that have served at least 20 years to seek a reduced sentence. And there is some thought, that makes a little bit of sense. Do we really want to have people locked up forever? And that, you can agree or disagree. There's a policy debate over that, but they currently allow for it. He was convicted in 2000 for the 1990 murder of Haymon Lee. And this was part of the Serial podcast, like I said. A lot of people had questions about it, but her family says that he's still the guy. Now, the judge is taking time, and she's got a lot of things to consider, and she wouldn't take too long to issue a written decision. It all depends. Like, she could do a lot of things here. But this is interesting from the judge. She says that Haymon Lee's family suffered through the defendant's rise to celebrity from a viral podcast. Now, here's where I think that I don't know if that's a proper thing for the judge to consider. Because, yeah, he may have gone to people and said, hey, look, I've been screwed by the system. This was all wrong. This was bullshit. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, at some point, if other people they pick up his cause, you can't blame somebody for trying to get out of prison. And I don't think that's proper. Especially if other people have gone on and there's enough question about what happened there and how things were done for this court to sit here and say almost kind of like backhandedly, it's his fault this has happened. That's where I just and I'm not even sure I'm making the proper argument here. But if I was at that hearing, I probably would have objected to that and say, Your Honor, I don't think that's proper. Because if people think he was wrongly convicted, they might suffer. But that's not his fault. If everybody thinks it's a bogus charge and a bogus conviction, them's the breaks. Suffer, I guess, to quote the great Ethan Ralph. I'm not sure that's the proper way you should look at this. I don't think that's proper here. I don't think it's proper. And the judge also said, whether this court grants the defendant relief, I hope everyone understands that Haymon Lee and her family are the two victims. Well, here's the thing. If people believe Adnan Syed wasn't the guy who did it, he's also a victim. And that's the thing here. I don't think anybody's saying they're not victims, but also the guy who's still alive might be a victim too. You don't have to believe that, chat, but I'm not sure why the judge had to go down this road. I mean, why would you do that? So here's the thing. If the judge denies the sentence reduction, he could be sent back to prison. So he's been out for a while now, but he could be resent to prison. He is not out. He is not guaranteed. Currently, he's been released, but that's it. But that said, though, the Baltimore City State's attorney did support the motion to reduce his sentence. They support the motion to reduce the sentence, but they withdrew the previous motion to vacate in a filing Tuesday. I didn't get a chance to pull it because I couldn't figure out navigating around the Baltimore City court system. I kind of suck. Sorry, chat. Sorry. But they reversed just before they were doing court. And I guess you have the right if you think something's not good to reverse, but doing it right before the hearing, that's kind of bush league. I think that's kind of I don't think that's fair to do it that way. I don't think it's fair to do it that way. So, but you got to file it when you file it. Now, they said after a thorough review of the motion to vacate filed by the previous administration, my office determined it contained false and misleading statements that undermine the integrity of the judicial process. That's fair. They can say, yeah, we think they were wrong. They're allowed to do that. It's just, did it take you that long to do it? And if it took you that long to do it, it's kind of like you probably should have got on that earlier. So, and remember, this is where they're talking about what happened because the Maryland Supreme Court upheld the lower appellate court's ruling because Haman Lee's brother was not properly notified of the 2022 hearing to vacate. And this court's ruling meant that the new DA had to decide whether to continue the efforts. And he said, I wouldn't make the same moves as Marilyn Mosby, I'm sure, because she also ended up getting indicted. But he said that Syed should still remain free. And he says, I'll agree that he should not have been out in any way, shape, or form, but that was a previous administration. And he says, I had nothing to do with it, and we can't, I think, penalize Mr. Syed because he was. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair point here. Somebody already released him. And at that point, it's not fair then. And I understand this point he's saying. Like, somebody else already released him. I can't then turn around and demand he go back to prison. And I respect that idea. You know, the fuck up happened. We can't unfuck it. I mean, you could send him back, but that's a horrible thing. And apparently, since in the meantime, he has shown the court that if doing things, he'll be a positive member of society. Apparently, the guy's acting pretty quiet and calm. Now, I don't think he's going to go out and murder more, women, but he has shown his way to take care of it. Now, Syed's attorney got all pissed off, and she's like, the decision to withdraw ignores the injustices on the conviction and will continue to fight to clear his name through all legal avenues. Fair enough, but if he thinks something wrong happened, if he thinks there were misleading statements and false statements, he has a duty of candor to the court. Remember, not condors, candor. A duty of candor to correct those things. So they're saying, though, and obviously they believe that he didn't commit the crime, but he spent 23 years in prison. So, and he continues to profess his innocence. So, they also point, Haman Lee's family, though, says through their attorney, remember, that's the thing. When you're a victim, you do have the right to have counsel, especially when you have Victims' Bill of Rights. They said that they don't want his sentence reduced. They said he's still a murderer, and he hasn't accepted responsibility or expressed remorse. So, his family came in, and her brother told the judge, like, this wasn't fair. And yeah, here's the thing. She says, I can't imagine the betrayal you felt that you just referenced. I'm so sorry for your family's been through, and I could say your words are not lost on me. My heart goes out to you and your family. Yeah. So, and yeah, and this is actually a pretty good way to acknowledge it from Syed. He says, I just acknowledge your pain. I just really don't mean to cause more pain for them. And you know what? That's all you can really say if you're this guy. You can't really say anything else. So, but it's interesting how this happens. Jordan says, oh, I shouldn't have given that judge a condor. But yeah, like I said, they let him out already. I don't think it's fair to undo it. Now, if he gets to stay a convicted murderer, fine. But I don't think in good faith you can send him back to prison. I don't think that's the proper outcome here. I don't think that's the fair way of doing it. So, kind of is what it is. It is what it is there, chat. Now, this is actually a very interesting thing here, you guys. This is when I heard about this, I thought it was a joke, but it's 100% real. It's 100% real. So there's a girl, and she graduated from the Hartford schools this past year. She ended up getting scholarships to UConn, which, Hartford's in Connecticut. That makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know how else you can argue with it. Hold on, chat. So it's funny because this girl, I'm sorry, it took me, had to pull up the issue here. So we're going to go to this here. And this is a girl, her name's Alicia Ortiz. And she's suing the school district because even though they made her pass her with honors, she can't read or write. And she graduated from high school with honors, but she couldn't read or write. And this is her, and she's suing the Hartford School District. You're not hearing this wrong, and we can make all the jokes about, yeah. Well, embarrassing? No, this is horrifying. If she really can't read or write, the school absolutely let this girl down. And that's an indictment of the school system more than anything. And it's interesting because you're thinking, well, how did she do anything? Well, she actually did things pretty creatively. How did she do stuff? She used apps, speech to text apps, but then she also used text to speech apps. That was the only way she could do stuff. So that was how she did things. And she said because of her limited vocabulary and speech impediment, the translations were always not grammatically accurate, but using the technology turned her C's and D's and A's and B's. And this is, her using apps and things to change around. So she would use like an app, and she would take a patch from a book, image it on her phone, and then play the phone audio reading the passage aloud to her. And they asked her, like, can you read the book? She's like, I just see words everywhere with no meaning. But the school passed her off without doing anything. And she's filed a lawsuit. Chat. So this is kind of where things go. She's suing the Board of Education, which I don't think is going to get her anywhere because I have a feeling the school board has some sort of immunity. It wouldn't surprise me if they do. I hope they don't. Because if this is real and this is what happened, shame on these people. Screw them all. But she was a student at Hartford Public High School. And, they are political subdivisions. They talk about everything here. But they say what happened to her. And they talk about who's the superintendent for the schools. They talk about who was the principal at the high school. But they get down to what happened here. And this is the sad part. When they talk about what this girl had to deal with. She was a student in the special education from 1st to 12th grade. She was eligible for special ed the whole time. In the 1st grade, they reported that she couldn't read any sight words, and she had difficulty with the letters, sound, and number recognition, which that's not a big, there are 1st graders who have a lot of problems, and they can get caught up. But her learning disabilities were not addressed. And as she continued to struggle, she began exhibiting maladaptive behaviors, which that happens. It's frustrating when you can't read or write or learn or do anything. But her educational file deficits in her foundational knowledge and verbal knowledge, limited coping mechanisms, just like all the people in the Epstein files, and that limitations in language have been impacting all aspects of her functioning. This continued throughout elementary and middle school, and none of it was addressed. Now, she also claims that the special ed teachers and aides abused her and secluded her because of her acting out. In the 6th grade, she was at a kindergarten level or 1st grade level. That's bad. She was very frustrated. She had self-esteem problems and hopelessness. And that happens. And guys, I don't know if you understand this. Kids who struggle with that stuff, it's devastating to them. They know they can't read. They see their other people in their classes, kids can read and write. And that destroys them. You might not think it's a big deal, but the idea your parents or your teachers were able to help you instill literacy into you and the ability to write and the ability to speak. There are a lot of people who didn't get it. And it's sad to see. And it's sad. Some people, sure, they fucked off and caused problems, but there's some people they just didn't get a decent chance at it. And they talk about her struggles. Even though her education file was full of these opinions, testing, and evaluations that show she had impairments, it continued into high school. In the 9th grade, they noted that she gave up easily and that she's presented younger in her age socially and emotionally. And her language skills were significantly below average. And despite these concerns, they made no changes to her academic programming as she went through the 9th, 10th, or 11th grades. Now, they say she was determined to make progress and ensure she was able to get into college and lead a successful life. Well, I don't know if you can make that up in a year's time in the 11th grade, but she said she'd spend her time dedicated to academics and used, text-to-speech and speech-to-text to help her read. And she had to advocate for herself. And it's at the end of the year, the school social worker wrote a report saying she consistently and persistently advocated for reading and writing supports. She could not write or could barely hold a pencil, which I kind of believe that happens in the public school system. I believe this happened. I totally do. She struggled to sit and write in class. I mean, could that be ADD? Sure, but with everything else going on, Chinny says, "We're her parents." I mean, I'm just saying, that's not really a surprise to me that her parents may not have been involved. Like, I got news for you. If your parents gave a shit, you should be very thankful for that. I will tell you, I've had to represent people who can't read or write, and every time I thank God my parents instilled it in us to learn how to read and learn how to write and learn how to read and write well. Because when you run into somebody who can't, it's definitely something. It's definitely something. They said that during the 12th grade, she continued to keep going. And this was recognized because eventually they said she should get tested for dyslexia. And she had to keep asking for it. In one of her psychological evaluations, the evaluator noted there was no evidence of a speech impairment, while her speech and language evaluations were done at the same time, produced scores in the severe and very low ranges. And during a meeting 3 months before her graduation, they said it would discharge her from the special education services upon her graduation, and they didn't make any changes to her programming. She continued to pursue testing for dyslexia. Her special education manager told her it was too late for testing, and students were referred for such testing in elementary school. Once again, it's not a surprise this happened to her, but who knows really what happened yet? It's just the complaint, so we don't know yet. They say the plaintiff reported to her case manager that she had been accepted and planned to attend University of Connecticut, UConn, after graduation, which I still don't know how the hell she did that. I don't know how the hell she did that. She was concerned her inability to read and write, even at an elementary level, would impact her ability in college. Well, no shit. No shit. I mean, I definitely think that could happen there. Yeah. So, it wasn't until right before her graduation the board agreed to the testing. The evaluations were not completed until the last day of school, and they showed her the results. And they said that she hadn't mastered a number of foundational reading skills. She required explicitly taught phonics, fluency, and reading comprehension, none of which she had ever received. And despite these failures, as graduation approached, they put an undue burden on her. So what is she alleging? She's doing negligent infliction of emotional distress, which is different than intentional infliction of emotional distress, chat. It is. Now, this is something a lot of states have intentional infliction of emotional distress as a tort. Not every state has negligent infliction of emotional distress. This is something you won't see in every state. So, but they're arguing that because of their negligence and the ability and their failures to take care of her, but they're alleging that one of the teachers involved in this, her case manager, when she was in high school, would not let her do things. She would raise her voice and engage in conflict with those teachers who are trying to help her, that she would stalk the plaintiff inside the school, which I don't like. I mean, it's probably your job to follow her around. She would yell at and humiliate this girl in front of her teachers. She would alter other teacher submissions regarding her attendance to mark her absent for classes. Who knows? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, crooked school employees. I mean, it's not the first time it's ever happened. verbally abuse and intimidate the girl. She would belittle and ridicule her. And they talked about all this, what happened there, and that other people knew about it. And this was severe and pervasive enough to affect her ability to participate or benefit from the school. And that her job was to report to the principal and the assistant principal. And that this girl would run and tell them what's going on, apparently crying about it. The other people observed and reported all this insanity. And they talk about a direct and proximate result of it, that she suffered emotional injuries, other things that she suffered here. She's been, obviously she can't read or write. So they also talk about she suffered suicidal ideations. She created an unreasonable risk of causing the plaintiff emotional distress. And it was 100% foreseeable if you do this. Now, there's a negligence thing against the Board of Education. And they talk about nothing. They didn't do anything to fix any of this. Like, they knew this kid couldn't read and they still graduated the kid. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Like, that part is going to be there. Anna says, considering my own experience, I believe it could happen. I could see that. I mean, yeah. Rocco says, imagine getting sued for leaving someone on read. Well, no pun intended. But yeah, it's just sad. I mean, like, I can't, like, I don't think this is made up, what happened here. But they basically let this girl get bullied and harassed repeatedly, and they didn't do anything about it. They knew it was dangerous. They didn't do anything about it, and they let it keep happening. And the city of Hartford, because the city of Hartford is in charge of the schools. Now, I don't know how this works. I don't know if you're allowed to sue your governmental entities like this, if there's any sort of sovereign immunity or things like that, but it is what it is there. So it's going to be this is an interesting one too. We're going to have to keep track of that. But I just, the idea these schools fuck this kid over, not a surprise. And no, this is not a class action lawsuit, but it probably should be, because I'm betting there's a lot of kids who probably got screwed by this. Terabus says they do this shit with football players regularly. Yes. Yes. Yes, and that's the thing. A lot of kids aren't held back anymore, and it's a shame. These kids need to get taken care of, but we have, like, metrics they have to follow, and you're just like, why are we not taking care of these kids? Why are we not taking care of these kids? So, why are we not taking care of these kids? Oh. Yeah, okay. Well, moving on to not as sad of a thing. This will be a little more funny. A lawyer got in trouble for allegedly smuggling drugs into jail down in Florida. And this one, I'm kind of like, when you first read the first part of it, you're like, wait, this makes no sense. And then you read a little bit more of it, and you're like, I kind of see what happened here, if something happened at all. So, yeah, she fell through the cracks. Well, the thing is, a lot of people fall through these cracks with IEPs and special education programming. So, a lot of kids, like, it's not the only ones there. So, and real quick, we got some comments to catch up on here. The Chugi Show, how you doing? Saying, I don't always tell people the Discord chat. I told you I do. But when it is, because I told you so. Oh, this Epstein release was a shit show. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Bearman Cow is a new member. Thank you. I appreciate the support. And Natasha says, send Nikki F to Destiny to silence his re. Yes. Michael Gelke says, I hear that Destiny's a better lawyer than you, Sean. Hard times. Yes. Like Tupac says, hard times. So sad. So sad. Sean Pop is saying, I think you might be asking for me too here. Do you think lawyers should know how to handle a sidearm, maybe even carry, because security curious of an unhappy client? Yeah. Yeah. Situational awareness is very critical. Make sure you're always paying attention. Yes, there's nothing wrong with having a piece in the office. A lot of lawyers have guns in their offices. Even though they're not gun people, they may have a gun in their office. But yeah. Yeah, I know more than one office where the front desk has a shotgun behind it and the girl up front knows how to use it and isn't afraid to shoot through the front of the desk to hit you. So be very careful when you're dealing with attorneys. Nick Starro for 50 Swedish krona says the Epstein files turn out to be less than mouse farts. Everything released now is already public. Yes. Barton Bella's been a member for 14 months. Thank you for the support. It says the Rickroll and laughing while getting child grape grinders is beyond reprehensible. They are disgusting. I know. Yeah, that whole thing was retarded to watch. Absolutely retarded to watch. Let me see here. Hypothesis. Oh. Isn't that one of the comments or something that's out there? I think maybe. It says, Mike Cope thought, what if the Rickroll wasn't for us? They released a special lobby-approved Phase 1, then later discovered Phase 2, which they quick release. I know. I mean, it's like, here's the thing. It sounds good. But we're getting into, here's how Hillary could still win. Or, remember, chat, the Patriots are not in control. The white hats are not in charge. Don't trust Sessions. Don't trust the plan. Where we go one, we go all. No. I'm not saying you're doing that hypothesis. But, yeah, I understand. Yes, it's hard not to cope. I get it. So, Sean Pop says, Gosling the coolest law guy. Steve is very cool. And he didn't even need to wear a Pope hat to give the appearance of propriety. Very true. Guys, SteveGosling.com for your needs if you'd like any of the books he's ever done. They're all there. Death penalty debates, death penalty desires, the spicy, non-spicy versions, the ideas and answers in law, Brucey the One-Eyed Wonder Dog, and I forget some of the other things he's got going on there. But if you'd like any of his writings, they are available out there. WMMAC now says, those influencers all wear their fanciest knee pads. Yes. T-Rex Trucking Moore says, wait, why don't you like Vivek? When he comes in there and says, we just need to import a bunch of H-1Bs. It's like, buddy, why not work on making sure we don't need H-1B visas? That's the funny thing. They're like, what about the American workers? Well, fuck them. It's like, well, why don't you focus on helping them so you don't have to tell them to fuck off? Shocker, I know. And wow, the cat is playing with that toy really hard out there. I can hear it spinning around. Brandon says, how you doing, Brandon? He's saying, welcome to Ohio, the smallest state this side of New Delhi. Best of luck, Clyde. Oh no, don't you dare do that to me. Don't you dare do that to me. John Gordon's been a member for 3 months. Says maybe they won't have to start paying taxes. Yeah, I could see that if you're 18. It could be possible. He says, thank you for the support for 3 months. Then Extreme Happy Simmer for another $20. Thank you for that. Saying, is it normal for a lawyer to meet with clients at a Starbucks? No, because there's no attorney-client privilege. This guy in a suit was talking to 2 women, and I could overhear their conversation. He said something about schools, drug testing, kids without parents' permission was unconstitutional. Well, maybe that, hopefully they weren't sitting there hanging out. But I mean, I guess it's there's better places to do it. If I have a client and they're in a situation where they can't really drive or they're ill and they're in a situation where they can, I can meet them somewhere. That way I don't have to go to their house. We can say hey, the local library, you can usually you can reserve one of the study rooms or one of the little breakout rooms in a library for an hour or 2. And you can meet, there's ways and places to find rooms and locations to go. If you have to, I met with a guy before because he wanted to go meet outside. It was the summer and he had just gotten out of the hospital. So he'd been in the hospital for 3 months. And he's like, I want to sit outside and we can talk. So we went to the park and we found a spot in the park where there was nobody around and we sat there and talked for a little while. And we talked kind of in very basic terms, but we made sure nobody was around to hear us or run anybody for 100 feet. And when people would come by, I would stop and I'd stop him. But generally you try to keep people in a location where nobody else can hear it. It's kind of important. Malcolm says that kid there was 17-year-old postpartum depression. Yeah, a 17-year late-term abortion. It's like South Park when Eric Cartman's mom's talking to Bill Clinton. It's like, Well, I think we can do a 10-year late term abortion. She's trying to get her kid killed. Oh, and then Minnesota knows for $4.99 is saying, I don't agree with the proportional response. Who is the state to tell me how best to defend myself? That gets weaker people unalived. It is dumb. But here's the thing, and you made me misunderstand this. Proportionality of force is just one of a couple different factors. You know, you have like imminency, like how immediate is the threat? Is there a disparity of force? That's another big thing. So if you're weaker than the guy, like if it's your grandma versus Mike Tyson, nobody's expecting her to start hitting punches with punches because they're not proportional. Just like if there's 3 guys standing there, you're not expected to go Jack Reacher and fight 3 dudes at once. At that point, the proportionality and the disparity of force have gone out the window, and you need to bust out a knife or a bat or maybe even a gun, depending on the situation. Those are there's multiple factors regarding use of force situation, and you should really sit down with an attorney in your state to make sure you understand the law in those situations. So, like I said, it's not just that. And I understand why people might think that, well, what do I do if there's a bunch of people attacking me? Well, it's got to be proportional to the force you're looking at, and you have to look at in the totality of the circumstances. There. Erica's a new member again. Thank you, Erica, for re-upping. I appreciate your support. Let's see here. We're going to catch up here in chat real quick. Scarebro says, can you fit in Nick's Minnesota 804 B6 spurging on Twitter? I didn't look at it, but I don't think he really knows Rule 804 that well. I mean, given who knows what he really, I don't know. I'll look it up on the farms. So KMW's been a member for 7 months, is saying, Sean dropping that I got news for you meme. Yes. I got news for you. That means you're gay. Stacy, who's been a member for 14 months. Thank you, Stacy, for that support. I appreciate it. Numbers like that are so cool to see. I was a substitute teacher. I believe this stuff has actually happened. Yeah. Not a surprise. Not a surprise. Jonathan says our public education system is total ass. It is. It is, chat. It is bad. So, but moving on here, chat, we're going to get into this attorney down in Florida because this thing is weird. This story is kind of weird here. So he got in trouble for smuggling in documents soaked in K2. Now, this is the thing you do. You can soak drugs into paper. And then you could, it's like LSD tabs. You can do that. So he brought in documents soaked in it, which is a little weird here. So this guy, he's Nathan Williams. He's an attorney down in Jacksonville. He brought in, paper that was soaked in spice and paper dope. This is him getting arrested. Now, the attorney is accused of working with the inmates and family members to bring it in, which this becomes a problem of if he did it himself, okay. But if the idea is here, this guy accepted documents from the family, we have papers you need to give him. Yeah, maybe. Why? That's the thing. I wouldn't be taking documents from other people. That's a little sketch. Like the idea you're gonna take shit from people and you're just like, oh, here you go. You're like, okay. It's like, no, I don't do that. Just something isn't adding up here. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense here. So they're talking about the documents here. And this is the thing. If these are the actual papers, these don't look like legal papers. I don't know what these are supposed to be here. So, but yeah, it's a big problem. You're bringing in drugs. So he was cuffed. He was arrested on Sunday night and charged with 8 felonies, including bringing drugs into the jail and unlawful use of communication devices. He's faced up to 5 years in prison if convicted. This is it's a weird setup of what happened. You're like, what the hell did you do, man? I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be some type of goofy setup and it didn't happen. Maybe that's the case, I guess. But it just seems weird. Did he really do this? I don't know. But if he was dumb enough to give somebody documents, like somebody gave him documents and he took them in, that's fucking stupid. That's the thing. You don't trust, like, when people give you shit, you don't touch them like that. That's weird. That's weird. So I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Moving on from there, there is an interesting thing, an attorney withdraw, another attorney thing, and it's in P. Diddy's case. One of the attorneys on the Diddy case is filed a notice to withdraw. And it's not the end of the world, chat. These are probably going to get granted because he does cite some things here. And you can't just quit when you're on a case. You have to seek permission from the court. Unless the case ends. If the case is over, you're generally presumed to be discharged from your duties. So, for example, in a criminal case, if there's a conviction and a sentencing, well, that's generally kind of, making sure the guy's set up for an appeal if he wants to do an appeal. But generally, you're kind of done with things. Or for, like, if you help somebody write a will, you help them write the will. You're going to be done for that, unless you agree to do more. You help somebody do a sale of real estate. You cover that sale, and then you're done. In this situation here, where there's actually a court case involved, you can't just quit. You can't just quit. So this has been sorted out here, and they're seeking an order permitting Anthony L. Rico to withdraw his counsel. And it says for others such relief as the court may seem just and proper. And it's signed by him, and he's one of Diddy's attorneys. And it's also sent out to everybody else that's here, to the judge, to the other attorneys on Diddy's team, and also to Diddy. Diddy gets a copy because you have to notify your client that you're done. You have to notify them in advance. You can't just spring this on them. It's not fair to them. They have to have notice. And to all government prosecutors of record, because he doesn't know who the hell's doing it over there in the SDNY. So here, look, U.S. Attorney's Office. So now this is declaration in support of his motion. And he's saying, pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746, I declare under perjury that I was retained by Diddy in September of 2024. And I say, as a result of being retained, I filed a notice of appearance in September of 2024, less than a week later. And he says this declaration is submitted in support of the annex notice of motion as is required under the local rules of the SDNY. Remember, Chad, I've told you, you've got the basic rules of procedure that everybody follows in your state or across the country. And there might be other rules. And then as you get to that court, there's going to be local rules for the court. And those local rules for the court probably are going to cover a lot of similar things that rules of procedure, rules of superintendence, rules of professional responsibility may cover. And you're going to have to make sure you cite local rules and you know the local rules. Because if you don't know those, you're going to get rejected. You're going to look like a boob. So following local rules is a critical thing. And that's just acknowledging, you're telling the judge, see, I did my homework. And it says the local rules of the United States District Courts for the Southern and Eastern Districts. So, guys, remember, the Southern District of New York is Manhattan and one of the other boroughs. And then you have the Eastern District, which is like Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island. So they're like right next to each other. So they have their own local rules. And those local rules, and since there aren't special criminal rules, the civil rules will fill in. And that's what happens. When you have gaps in the criminal rules, you look to the civil rules to kind of fill in the gaps. That's a very common thing that happens. And he says, for the reasons below, I want to withdraw. And he says, the reasons to be withdrawn. As a result of discussions with the lead counsel, this motion is there. And he says, while I'm aware the local rule requires an application is supported and granted only upon a showing by affidavit or otherwise satisfactory reasons for withdrawal, there are sufficient reasons. And it says, related to the protections afforded by attorney-client privilege, for brevity in my application for withdrawal. And he's saying, look, there's reasons, but I can't tell you because I have attorney-client privilege. And remember, as an attorney, your attorney-client privilege goes on forever unless you have to do it first. And as we talked about before, there are times where you're allowed to break it. If it gets waived, you can discuss things. Or, for example, if Diddy tries to sue him or brings up a bar complaint against him, he could say, look, I talked to Diddy. Here's what we did. Here's what happened. At that point, you are allowed to use it. You are allowed to break privilege to defend yourself in court. but otherwise he can't talk about it. He says, although I provided Diddy with the high level of representation expected by the court, under no circumstances can I effectively continue to serve as counsel for Diddy, consistent with the ABA standards for criminal justice. Now, the ABA doesn't really care. It doesn't really matter, but he's trying to set out, look, there's some aspirational goals. I can't do it for him. Now, this is important because if it's granted, it will not result in delay of the present schedule for the commencement of jury trial. And that's true. Jury trial is way down the road. The present schedules for briefings of pretrial legal issues. And that's true too. Do we have things set? Am I the only attorney pending? That could be a problem, but he's got a team. Or is everything done and we're just waiting for responses from the court? Like, is the case almost over? That can help affect it. Like, has all the stuff been done and we're waiting for the judge? You might be able to get out then. But as a result, there'll be no lapse in representation, as Diddy will continue to be represented by 5 other attorneys. And it says, without violating any aspect of attorney-client privilege or otherwise providing any details, the government has been notified of the filing and withdrawal. The government takes no position of the motion seeking withdrawal of Diddy from Diddy. And he says, it is respectfully but regrettably requested the court grant the relief requested in the notice of motion and permit me to withdraw as attorney of record. And it's probably going to be granted, because if you'd say no, well, now you're forcing the guy to be there. So this is kind of where Aaron says, I'm so over Diddy. I just want to see the list. That's a big binder. Well, yeah. But this is a proper motion of withdrawal. So, Rabbit Sticks is the same district hiding the Epstein docs are handling the Diddy case. Yeah. Remember, chat, and this is something that's true. The Southern District of New York is kind of seen as like the preeminent U.S. Attorney's office in the country, not the D.C. district. The Southern District of NY, the SDNY. If you guys ever watched the show Billions, I mean, like, they think they're the king of it all. Everything, I mean, think about it. Like, all the cases they've assumed jurisdiction for, because they basically strong arm them if they want it, because all roads lead to them, and they could tie jurisdiction to everything. So yes, they very much view themselves as kind of like the Mac Daddy of the U.S. Attorney's offices. So it's not a surprise there. It's not a surprise there. Ag says, why? Who knows? Who knows? There are times, like, if you can do it, like, if it was a really serious issue, he might ask for an in-camera discussion. But even then, it's still an attorney-client issue. The guy's just trying to tell the judge, look, something's up. I can't do it anymore. And that should be enough at this point for the judge to say, look, it's okay. You generally try to avoid saying you're doing things that you're being asked to do things that are unethical, or your obligation is to limit what you're talking about. So, yeah. So we don't really know. Who knows what it is? I mean, maybe it's like harassing witnesses. I don't know what Diddy wants to do, but who knows? Whatever it is, he just doesn't want to do it. And that's okay. Sometimes it's just shit doesn't work out. Shit doesn't work out. So just something to keep in mind, chat. Something to keep in mind. All right, here. Hold on. We are chugging through here. Okay. All right. We are going to plot along with chat. We got to knock this out. We got to knock this out here. Okay. Moving on here. We are going to cover the, actually, I'm going to save the Graceland stuff for another night, because that's actually pretty interesting. This one I kind of saw and I was like, it's not America, but in Zambia, there is a case now about basically these guys being hired to do like a hit on their president by using witchcraft. And it's interesting because these guys are being prosecuted under colonial era law, banning witchcraft, but they're like clearly not a British colony anymore. They're part of the Commonwealth. But these guys, this is their president, Hakainde Hichilema. These guys were hired to commit witchcraft against him. So basically kind of like, Agent 47, except instead of killing you in a grotesque way, he just sits there and stabs the little Mannequin. Like, imagine that if you're Agent 47. It's like, your job is to kill so-and-so. You dress them up like the guy and just start stabbing them with pins. Mission accomplished. Silent assassin. Every time. It's very interesting how that works. Yes, Sticks, Hex, and Hammer. Be careful. Don't go to Zambia. Yes, they hired Sticks, Hex, and Hammer. Oh, but yes, they hired these guys to commit voodoo, and these guys are on trial for practicing witchcraft and possessing charms intended to harm the president. Like, and here's the thing: it's weird because, in their traditional society, they believe in the supernatural. They believe in witchcraft. These two men were hired by the brother of a former, government official who was on the run, and they wanted to curse the president. Now, people think this is all like a false flag, and that was very, and that's the funny thing here, chat. They're like, it's all a false flag by the president. And you're like, no, I don't want accessibility mode. No, I don't want accessibility mode. So that's the funny part here. Even in happens, people are like, it's all a conspiracy. It's all a false flag. They're glowies. But yes, people are asking, like, will there be witch doctors and alleged witches testifying as expert witnesses? And but this is the thing, like, a lot of people down there believe in witchcraft. The president himself was accusing witchcraft against his opponents. So they were found in possession of a bottled chameleon and other items, including a white powder, a red cloth. Oh no, a red cloth and an animal's tail. They also face charge of cruelty to animals, which is good. But the bottled chameleon, it's like bottle, chameleon. I don't think that's what they meant when they wrote the song there. Yeah, and the woman confessed they'd been hired for a curse to kill him, and they were promised $1 million for it. It's like, like I said, Agent 47, just, who hocus pocus. But it's so interesting what they do there. And it's apparently, as of 2018, like 79% of their country still believes in witchcraft. So it's like, But it's because of an old British law, the Witchcraft Act. So the act, you're not allowed to do anything that practice witchcraft pretending to exercise any kind of supernatural power. So notice, it's not even actually exercising the power, pretending to do it. If you're doing it to cause fear, annoyance, or injury. I mean, mimes would qualify as witchcraft under that definition, because they definitely annoy. Oh. So it's going to be interesting, though. The penalty is up to 2 years in jail with hard labor. So, protecting against witchcraft is a good business. Maybe that's what we'll do, chat. I'll go down there and be like, the witches will not come in, I promise. How? I'll go like this. And the witchcraft won't come in your doors. So it's very interesting how this works here. But yes, the majority of the customers to protect against witchcraft are women. Shocker. Shocker, chat. When it comes to it, you're talking about, women. They want charms to protect them. It's, buying crystals, chat. It's... I read this earlier and I thought it was so funny. It's like, it's universal. Women want their wine and they want their crystals. It's just, women around the world. Oh, you laugh now until the president drops dead. I mean, maybe. We'll see. Someone call Bronca. Yes, Hocraft. Oh, chat. What the heck is going on here, guys? It was weird. It came off my screen for a second. So, a teacher of witchcraft says he's following the witchcraft trial and believes it can help determine how his country treats the subject in the future. He says, I feel people should be punished for planning to cause harm to somebody. It's so difficult to prove witchcraft in a court of law. Yeah, it kind of is almost impossible to prove witchcraft in the court of law. But like, I think I wish we could televise this, but they've only televised one trial in the history of their country, and this is the second time it's happened, and they're like, no, we're not doing it. But it's just like the idea of how this all works. Like I said, chat, this is for $9.99 a month, I'll ward off your witches. Okay. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, chat. I don't know about that. These witches keep getting away with it. Yes, does this mean they prove the magic bullet theory? I don't think that kind of magic. So, but yeah, and I'm not even making fun of them. I think this is interesting because it is kind of one of those deals where there's like that, we're breaking away from the colonial past and we want to, and I don't blame places for wanting to do that. But then they fall back on these colonial-based laws of like, you can't practice witchcraft. And it's like, but the people in charge, like, we know it's kind of bullshit, but we're still going to prosecute these guys. And you're like, is that fair? I don't think so. It shouldn't be. If they know it's bullshit, I mean, charge them for fraud or the cruelty to animals. But the idea you're going to charge these guys for witchcraft, like, you guys all know it's bullshit. At least I hope the people in charge do. I mean, I don't want them all acting like, before they go to trial, acting like Baron Samedi and like, live and let die, like sitting there with the snake and like, or Pedro Serrano in Major League, like taking the snake and like doing all kinds of like chicken with its head cut off voodoo. But yeah, I mean, like, just think about that. That's a crime in some countries. Think about here. If you paid people $1 million to cast a spell against the president, I'm sure the FBI would be like, what? Hold on, they're witches? Click. They wouldn't take that call. They'd be like, sir, this is for serious problems. I'm busy trying. He's like, sir, I'm trying to redact the Epstein files. I'm trying to shred them right now. You're interfering with me. Oh. High number says Pat Tomlinson's case against Wikipedia is failing. I'll have to take a look at that. Maybe there's an update time coming up. Here. So we'll have to take a look here. And hold on, chat. I need to refresh because something's up with my stream here. Give me 1 second here. Hold on. Hey, chat. Okay, we're back. Sorry, that was weird. Like, something started happening with my freaking camera. Like, I was in StreamYard, but every time I moved around, the camera would, like, switch off. And I was like, you guys could see me. Apparently, you guys didn't notice, but it wasn't showing up on my end. And I'm like, So, I'm sorry I had to bail out like that. I guess Twitter went back down. So. What are you saying? You guys, yeah, we should be back now. Keep talking about the witches. Yeah, that's what's doing it. The witches are coming after me. The Wiccans. All right, well, we're going to keep moving on from there, chat. Like I said, damn Twitter. It says Rumble. Is Twitter still alive? I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Well, we're going to move on from that. We are going on to, hold on here. So we're moving on to what's going on in the Trump case real quick. We'll do the Supreme Court update here. This is the case involving Trump and the AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition. This is one of the bigger cases where they were suspending $2 billion in about money that are contracted already. There's a TRO in place, and they were ordered by midnight tonight to start paying out. And they're arguing, and the Trump administration is making an argument We can if we want to, and the court can't force us to because we have sovereign immunity. So remember, sovereign immunity is the idea the government, you can't sue the government unless they let you. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means ultimately that you have to sue through the Court of Claims, the United States Court of Claims, which is a separate place, unless you have authorization under the Federal Tort Claims Act, which I don't believe this is something the government has given permission for through Congress, or that the government has not granted them permission to sue them. So the TRO has been appealed all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, and Roberts issued an order, and he says it's ordered that the February 25th orders of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia are hereby stayed pending further order of the undersigned or of the court. And that means it's to John Roberts. Remember, we talked about this before with the Hampton Dellinger case. His job is to take those direct emergency stay orders, those emergency orders, from the D.C. Circuit. And remember, every justice has a circuit they watch. And he says, it's further ordered in response to the application to be filed on or before Friday at noon. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, Trump smashed. Or the Supreme Court was like, no, boom. It's like, that's not what happened here. That's not what happened here, chat. Also, if you guys are on Twitter, can you tell me if Twitter is still up? And tell me if Rumble's up too, because I don't know what's going on over there. Oh, Siegbright says they have blue hairs in Zambia. Oh yeah. Yeah. It is a thing. It is a thing over there. So another says, where's Clyde? Clyde is eepy right now. Clyde's sleeping. He's a tired doggo. He's moping. I could see him out in the hallway. I don't think he's going to come in. They're all down. Well, that sucks. They're all down, but how can you tell me if they're all down? It don't make no sense. Chad, it don't make no sense. Oh. Just how you do it. Wow. 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 So anyways, we're good here. Rumble and X are back up. Good. 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 So Rumble and X are up there. Perfect. It's just like they disappeared. Shauna really brings these cases to life. I try a little bit. It's kind of important, to know what's going on here. But here's the thing. This isn't like there's an order, so the court's like, we're putting a pause on until you guys both tell us what's up. So it's not like a permanent stay. It's only for like a day or two. Like, I know people are like, yay! It's like, you didn't really win anything. The Supreme Court just went like, time out. Tell us what's going on. That's all we know. So, once again, guys, this is kind of like the Hampton Dellinger thing. Like, this isn't anything. This isn't an earth-shattering thing. I would expect the Supreme Court to do this with all the stuff that comes to them. John Roberts is going to say, stop. We need to take our time with this. And then probably tomorrow night, they're going to release something. I don't see them letting drag out till Monday. But remember, the Hampton Dellinger thing, they sat on it for like 2.5 days, which was really weird. I mean, unless there was a lot of horse trading going on. But, nothing happens. This is a nothing. What do I think is going to happen? I think a lot of what's going to happen is what happened the first time. They're going to punt and say it's not ripe yet because the TRO's interlocutory. So I think it's probably going to go back down. Why? Because they've already telegraphed what they're doing once. I assume they're going to do it again. I think that's what they're going to do. Yes, the penny lawyer is killing your boners. I'm sorry, chat, but remember, I could tell you what it is, or I could tell you what you want to hear, or I could tell you the truth. There's no point in me lying to you. I don't want to lie to you about this stuff. I gain nothing by gassing you up and then coming back saying like, well, gosh, I don't know what happened. Like, that's not fair to you guys, especially if you're coming to me and asking me what's going to happen. And I tell you, it's all good. I mean, think about it. If you hired an attorney who does it, like, oh yeah, don't worry. And it turns out it's like he's lying to you. That does nothing for you. That's not something you want. So yes, expect more of the same. Yes. Loading. So, yeah. If only the grifting channels would understand. Well, like I said, but you know what? That's why they're doing this full time. I'm not. So, Squizgar's right. Repeat after me. Nothing. Yes. Nothing ever happens. All right. So just keep that in mind, chat. I don't think, like, you know, who knows what's going to happen there. Just like, chill. Now, moving on from this, Andrew Tate. The top G. The toppest of the G's, if you would. And as you could say, as one might call him. The top G. Now, does that refer to his position when he's dealing with other men or just with the Hustlers University? We don't really know. But remember, they were facing charges of sex trafficking and other various crimes in Romania. Now, why did they get charged? Because they sat there and bragged about doing shit that maybe counted as a crime or maybe didn't. We don't know yet because they were charged initially and then the charges got dismissed and they were basically restricted to Romania. Here's the thing. Don't brag about doing questionable conduct. And then number two, if you're the Tates, Andrew Tate also then bragged about this beautiful mongoloid here, this guy, this boy, this guy right here. What did he do? He started talking about get out of here, chat. Like, AP, why do you do this? You suck. Okay, go away. This is Andrew Tate. If you guys remember him, he's the top G. He's in charge of Hustlers University, and that's his brother Tristan behind him. You guys remember he's smoking his cigars, playing with his Bentleys. You know, their indictments were sent back to get reworked, but in the meantime, they weren't being charged. He's absolute cringe. But in the meantime, because of pressure from the United States, and here's what I will say. They are U.S. citizens, and the U.S. government put pressure on Romania saying either charge them or let them come home. Now, I want the U.S. government to go get people who are getting fucked around with. Now, if the Tates have done something, fine, charge them, and then we'll extradite them. But until you charge them, just keeping them here, we have an extradition treaty, so we're good to go. But in the meantime, they have arrived in the United States. That doesn't mean they're not scumbags and turds, but they are U.S. citizens. So I know people are like, oh, look, they're letting in immigrants. Like, they're U.S. and UK dual citizens. They're dual U.S. citizens here. Yes, Andrew Tate is a sped. He is of the highest kind. But they returned to Florida. They arrived Thursday in the United States after Romania lifted the travel restrictions on them. They landed in Fort Lauderdale, and it's like, okay. And I mean, yes, look at him, looks like a tool, and they've got a bodyguard. He looks like a tool too. So remember, they're dual U.S. British citizens, and you know, that's why they're allowed to be here. Yes. So they were charged with sexually exploiting women, and Andrew Tate was also charged with rape of a woman. So in December, court ruled it couldn't go to trial. But they said the case remains open and there's another investigation. Great. So either let them go or just like get this shit rolling. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, the prosecutors said that they approved a request to change, but they didn't say who made the request. I'm sure Trump leaned on them for that. So they're still required to appear before authorities when summoned. Well, you know what? They got a Learjet. They got a G650. They could fly to Romania. I really don't give a shit. That's a problem for them. Yes, they were born in D.C. Their dad is a U.S. citizen. As much as they like to claim their dad was some super secret squirrel guy, no, he was a dude in the Air Force who lost his fucking mind. He's a dude in the Air Force with schizophrenia, who could play some chess a little bit. So that said, though, and this is the interesting part here. They landed in Florida, and Florida's looking into whether or not they can do anything about the human trafficking charges, which is based. If they committed a crime and Florida can charge them, let's go for it. Let's do it. And this is here from Ron DeSantis. And this is him talking about whether they want to. This is, I think, a pretty base comment. And keep in mind, chat, there are federal crimes. If they committed this stuff, they actually did it. They're guilty of federal crimes as well, because if you're a U.S. citizen and you're out committing sex crimes overseas, you could still be charged for that. The U.S. government has established we have jurisdiction over those. So if you go to somewhere where that's legal, you can still be charged with it. You know, we don't want our citizens going around causing sex crimes. So, like, for example, guys who would go to Thailand to go commit sex crimes against children have been prosecuted and sent to prison for that. But here's Ron DeSantis talking about him.
Welcome here with the state send back to Romania or whatever.
Well, we have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States, and I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening. Okay, guys.
So that's Ron DeSantis giving a press conference about it. And I do love this article here. Andrew Tate says he and his brother are largely misunderstood. There's not a whole lot we don't misunderstand about you there, homie. I'm pretty sure we know who you are. You guys couldn't hear that? I'm sorry, I couldn't do anything else about it. I boosted it. They're just saying it wasn't our choice. We didn't get involved in it. We learned about it when you guys did. So the Attorney General for Florida is looking into him. But yeah, the idea, we're misunderstood. No, buddy, you ain't misunderstood. There's nothing to misunderstand about you. Like, we know what you about. We know what you're about. Yes, he's the self-described misogynist and all that, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, they're just talking about, he's like, that he and his brother are innocent until proven guilty. Sure they are. You are innocent until proven guilty, but we are allowed to make our own judgments. So, and they're expected to return to Romania at the end of the month, which, okay. So enjoy your time here, because it sounds like you're not going to be there. Although the Prime Minister has denied being pressured by the U.S. government to allow the release. We'll see about that. But anyways, there is some video of them walking around, getting off their airplane. Although, wait, what? Hold on. What is that here? We need to N543G. Hold on. N543. Okay, let's see here. It is a manufacturer name Raytheon 390. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what that was. Okay. Oh, that's kind of funny. They're given it's a Tate's chat. You can look up the tail numbers of aircraft through the FAA. It's owned by Swing Plane Aviation. And the city's in Ball Ground, Georgia. It's like just the funniest names for things involving the Tates. Oh. That turtleneck is just an advertisement for his hetero flexibility. Yeah, well, that can be part of it. But yes. He's like, I just don't know why nobody likes us. I'm like, I can think of a lot of reasons why nobody likes you, man. But yeah, look at him. Yeah, I mean, is this the best view of people just calling them
There you go.
dickheads? So, we'll see. Yes, flying private is based, but like, I mean...
Andrew, how are you?
Listen. We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood. There's a lot of opinions about us, a lot of things that go around about us on the internet. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have no criminal record anywhere on the planet ever. Our case was dismissed on the 19th of December in Romania under the Biden administration. And our prosecutor recently decided, because we have no active indictment in court, to let us go and return. This is a democratic society. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, as my brother and I are. And I think it's extremely important that we stop allowing media spin, wrap-up smears, lies, or...
That's right, chat. Don't let the Matrix change how you think.
Carefully constructed narratives from George Soros-funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow the law.
So there you go, chat.
Why are you in Florida?
I'm sure they're in Florida because it's nice, and also maybe they're meeting Trump. Who knows if he really is? Jesus Christ. Dude knows his PR. Not really. If he knew his PR, he wouldn't have talked about doing all the shit he's done. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing here. Let him tell you yourself he's a pederast. Yeah. His accent is so awful. I know that's the biggest problem, but that's the issue. He's got that crappy British American accent thing, but he's got a little bit of a speech impediment, you can tell. It just makes it awful. It's so bad to listen to him. That part drives me crazy more than anything else. So, yes, he's the parody of an alpha male. He's a parody of a lot of things. So, yeah, all blown out mics. They must shop where Nate does. Oh, no. Also, by the way, Chad, I'll be joining Eric Hunley probably tomorrow for Laid Back Law at noon. I think he's got room. I don't know. He asked if anybody was available. I kind of chimed in, but I think other people beat me to the punch. And I know he likes to only have so many people on because if you get too many people, it becomes a mess. So I don't know if there'll be room for me, but I might be on. Maybe. So. Yeah, if you knew about PR, you wouldn't brag about being a child molester. Yeah, having sex with a 15-year-old. Believes one of the things he's also said. And then also just doing the whole lover boy thing where they invite the women over to Romania. They work in the cam girl thing and they basically hold their passports hostage. Yeah, like all that stuff. Yeah. All that stuff right there. Remember, guys, the top G, Andrew Tate. Tristan's easy to understand, but he's not as funny. Yeah. Are we sure that Tate isn't also a cuck? I bet he is. He only fought tomato cans in MMA. I thought he did like Muay Thai, not MMA. So. But remember, Andrew Tate said he would rather have sex with a tranny who's a 10 than a woman who's a 3. Tells you a lot. 2G is his boyfriend. Yeah. Yeah, he was in kickboxing, not MMA. Yeah. The toppest of the G's, but I'm pretty sure he's not a top when it matters. So maybe the Tates are going to buy Diddy's house. Oh, they don't have that kind of money. They're small time. They just make money ripping people off. So with that said, chat, we are kind of all caught up here. We got to get through some super chats here, but we are done after that. So we're going to catch up on these here. J-Rock gifting 5 subs. And then Kat Madison gifting 5 more. Thank you guys both for your support and your generosity. Thank you very, very, very much. Minnesota Knows says, I have a kid who is in the 6th grade is unable to do 3rd grade math. We pulled him out of public school and he's now in the 9th grade and able to do algebra. Fuck public schools. Well, I'm glad that I'm glad you guys were able to take care of that. But yeah, it's, for the amount of kids that get through it, there's a lot that don't. It's sad to hear about how it happens. It's very sad to hear about how it happens. Unhung Hero says, it's good to see you, man. It's saying if they held her back, that girl, they'd get sued for hurting her feelings. I don't know about that. It sounds like they really just pencil whipped it completely. Lone Star Medic says, I'm black-pilled by all government works. As a libertarian, I get fucked no matter what by the feds or bootlickers. Well, I mean, it's nothing ever happens. That's always an easier mode to be in. Because when something does happen, you're like, wow. But when nothing ever happens, you're like, I kind of expected that. Nothing ever happens. And if it does happen, it's really not that important. Aaron Hack for $20. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the support, Aaron. says, rip to the Hackman family. Gene is a distant relative of mine. But my grandma Hackman used to tell me stories of when she met him. I never met him. But with Baldwin's Detective Sugar Lips as the lead investigator, it's in good hands. Yeah, it's the thing. Gene Hackman died out in New Mexico. And that, the same office is investigating it that investigated the Rush shooting. It's not, apparently there's some, it's not clear what happened there. At first, people were thinking, carbon monoxide, but apparently there were no toxic gases that were detected. I don't know if that's true or not. Allegedly, there were pill bottles found all around the area. So who knows? Maybe everybody took a big sleep and gave the dog some sleepy pills. We don't really know right now. I also didn't know Gene Hackman was 95 years old. Jeez, I didn't know that. And there was a picture of him recently. It's like, whoa, man, he's a skeleton of what he used to be. But damn, he's 95. Did not know that. I did not know that about him. Lone Star Medic says, and it's good to see you again. Thank you for being here tonight. He says, SDNY is the most corrupt federal court. They are all feds and bootlickers. Well, all these courts are feds and they're all feds. Every federal court, that's the thing. You can pick a federal court and be like, they're all feds. They all glow. I know what you mean. But I just think it's funny the way you word it. I'm like, I got news for you. They're all feds. Squizgar is saying, I don't know if we want to rag on the melanated for believing in voodoo when so many white women believe in horoscopes. I'm not, like I said, white women in America, white, black, Asian, whatever. White women in America, white women love their horoscopes. They love their psychic readings. So yeah, they love their crystals. I really can't say too much. I'm betting the witchcraft is far more based than crystals and horoscopes and tarot cards. I hope it is, because if it's not as cool, I'll be like, if it's even worse than tarot cards and Miss Cleo, I'll be very upset. But if it's based paid some real voodoo stuff, I'd be like, wow, you guys are gonna go to hell for this, but it's based to watch. And then I'd let him do it and be like, have you guys thought about Jesus? Just say it. Sikalo, they're good to see you, man. For $5 Singaporean dollars. Not enough to get a Singapore sling at the Raffles Hotel, but I bet it would help. I bet it would help with the cost. One of the things I'd love to do is go to Singapore. Go to the Raffles Hotel, do some Hemingway stuff, and drink a Singapore sling. Then I want to go to be in that one hotel where it's got the pool on the roof. It's like an infinity pool, and you can watch the Formula One race at night. That'd be so cool. He's saying, though, Ralph said Mexican lawyers have side hustles like checking on his cats, and lawyering isn't really prestigious in Mexico. How true? Certainly, it could be the case. It depends on the country. It's not always a prestigious job. I mean, really, in America, it's not really that prestigious of a job either. But yes, it wouldn't surprise me in other countries that it's not a very prestigious job. Another says, where's Clyde? Clyde is laying down. He's chewing on a peen right now. So if you rewind back to the beginning, we had Clyde. He's been a very happy boy with his treats. So a name of some sort says over in Africa, that's some blood for blood shit. I can see that. Michelle says astrology is for retards. Well, yes. Yes, it is, chat. She says, I don't do crystals or any of that crap. I understand, but it's like a lot of people think lawyers are scumbags. Most people think women do tarot cards or something. Jesus said Safa and said peace. Yes. The roof pools are terrifying, yes. Gene Hackman acted dead to avoid the divorce. Ooh. Oh. What the fuck are crystals? You don't know what crystals are? White women using crystals? Brother. My brother in Christ. I know you spend time in a lab, but go out and meet middle-aged, go read up on middle-aged white women, or if you have middle-aged white women in your family. I don't know if it's just white women in general, but go look for middle-aged women in your family on Facebook. you'll see them talking about crystals and their healing properties. It's like a thing. It's so weird. It's so weird. And it's not even talking about the crystals where we're like, people are getting locked up in the crystals. That's a different crystal. Oh. And Meme Copium, Josh is saying, think they are scumbags, huh? It's all about perception, man. It's all about perception. All about perception. Ow. My foot. Hit a piece of like 3D printing. I felt it poke my foot. It's like, ow, that's not fun. We're just going to the Rumble chat or Runkle's chat. Okay. Well, maybe. Mofuck saying over in Rumble, Sean, I think people misunderstood and think they're straight. The Tates are turbo gay. Well, yeah. And then Prestige 10 says nothing ever happens unless the nukes start flying, and then it's happening. Yes. Well, at that point, you could go into the happening bunker when the happenings happen. But yes, we are not in its happening mode right now. And yes, Demon's Wrath, I think this is the best thing here. This is a great thing to actually have. You know, it says, but shoulda, what if? It won't. It won't happen. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. Meme says, people in New Zealand love crystals. Did you see the pic of the woman who glued crystals to her steering wheel, sent out good vibes, and it made her steering wheel into a claymore? No, but yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you glue stuff to your steering wheel when your airbag goes off, that's like, woof, right into her face. They will heal her of her problem of being alive. Angia Blue says, it's not exclusive to white women or middle-aged ones. It's crazy out there. Well, there you go. Thank you for the help on that. It spans all women. Do I not have a jack-off crystal? No, I don't. I do not. Bella says, I learned to read tarot cards in high school. It's a con, but it's fun at parties. Yeah. Chewy saying, my mom got into essential oils, but never crystals and tarot cards. Well, essential oils, like the lavender one, like some of those oils kind of do, like the lavender stuff. Like, I remember, oh God, years ago, I had a girlfriend and she's like, oh, I do oils. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, what do they do? I was like, I heard all the stuff's garbage. She's like, no, it's not. Trust me with this. She's like, here's lavender. Try this tonight when you go to sleep. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. So like, she's like, just put it, she's like, do it like you're doing cologne. And I'm like, okay. And it was like a Thursday night, and thank God I didn't have like court the next day. I was just, making jail visits and stuff. So I took it out and I was like, dab, dab. And like when I did that, a bunch of it sloshed out. And it was all like a big puddle of it on my arm. And I was like, okay. And I took a little bit and put a drop on the other arm. And I rubbed them together. And then I rubbed it on my neck. Well, I didn't realize apparently that's a lot of it. And I was like, out. And I woke up like 10 o'clock it was like probably like 11 o'clock. I woke up like 10:30 the next morning, like sound asleep. I didn't nothing. I don't remember getting restless. I don't remember waking up for half a second. Nothing. I was just out. And I called her up and I was like, this is like time traveling stuff. And she's like, how much did you use? She's like, you just wake up. How much you use? And I'm like, well, you said just do a drop. She's like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, a bunch spilled out and I just rubbed it into my wrist. And she's like, no. She's like, I'm like, well, it can't kill me if it's natural. But she's like, apparently you can overdo it. So the lavender actually does, I think, have some properties there. Yeah, she drugged me. It was all infused with Molly. Oh, go to Sedona and immerse yourself in the crystal culture. I'll be good. Yes, embrace Zen Shuttism. Fallen Preacher says on January 20th, nothing ever happened. Well, I mean, okay, great. Some things happened, but like, okay, it happened. And those things happened, but now we default back into nothing's going to happen anymore. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong out there, world. The fates need to prove me wrong. Until then, nothing ever happens. Nothing happens until it does. Well, yeah, that's it. I can sell crystals in Emily Baker's jeans. Oh my god. Meme Copium says not all women. Okay. Josh out there sweeping up for the crystal lobby. That's right, chat. Meme Copium sweeping for crystals and essential oils. How dare you, man? Have some respect. Chugi Show is saying some women like my mom are into essential oils. Yeah. The essential oils without crystals, her chakras will never be aligned. Oh, no. Years ago, I had a girlfriend. Yes. Yes. Evan says I do THC oil. Well, I've heard that actually works pretty good. So. A lady in your lab has an essential oils business? Is it a Sensi or is it like a doTERRA or which one is it? I will say though, like the wintergreen ones that are like really like pure wintergreen like extract though, sniffing that will clear your nostrils out really good. The tea tree oil is good for cold sores. I've heard that before, but I've never tried it. Imagine the smell. Essential oils have been the cause of deaths in children. I have not heard of this. Really? Huh. Essential oils like crystal or Pennzoil. Well, remember, no seed oils, chat. No seed oils. Nate says, I kind of like the Vicks Vapor Rub trick. Yeah, that doesn't really do much for me. Yeah, I got roofied by oils. It was fentanyl. Yes, and then I went to the gay 90s. Jeez. I OD'd on lavender. That's like the gayest thing I ever heard in a while. Well, I'm not afraid to tell you guys embarrassing stuff. Like, I talked about almost killing a stereo chat. Like, you know, yeah, I OD'd on lavender oil. I don't know. I've never, like, just out like that. The lavender scented chloroform. Oh. That was the gayest thing ever. Is that a perfume wrist rub? Well, I mean, what? Now you're just being an ass. We demand a piss test. Okay, well. Nothing happens and then everybody claps. Well, that too. Radon is all natural and the crystals have a nice glow. Meme says, no, I said no tall women. Oh, okay. He wants some short stack goblins. Him and Vosh are probably... You and Vosh are bros? Really? Meme. Next you're going to tell us you like horses. So, no, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. I drive a Subaru and wear sleeveless shirts. Well, I mean, in the summer, why won't you? Use Diddy oils. Well, no, I don't want Diddy oils. That's scary. You grab one of Diddy's baby oil bottles and you start, like, you pop the top. You have to, like, is Diddy going to show up in your room? That sounds really bad. That sounds really, really bad. Sounds very scary. Oh, sounds very scary, chat. Anyways, guys, with that said, we are going to land the plane here. We are all done for tonight. Like I said, I'll be joining Eric Hunley probably tomorrow. I should know for sure pretty quick here, but we'll see. We'll see. And yeah. With that being said, guys, we will be back at it again tomorrow night. We'll probably be a little later. 2.0 Iron Guy are going to hang out and enjoy some time tomorrow. Saturday night, we are going to get back to working on the Sturmovik. And I will show you the M1. It's fully done. All the panel lines are done. Everything's been cleaned up on it. And we'll have some stuff glued up all over it. And you guys can take a look at it and see it in its full glory. Mofolk says that, I mean, ricin is natural. Yes. Ricin is organic. Yes. So is anthrax. Anthrax is organic. J-Rex says not a single Tilly shout out. Is Tilly here? Oh, Tilly. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Yes, I bailed him out of a Mexican jail. Yes. All right. So, ricin is a seed storage protein, chat. Yes, but we're not talking about ricin tonight. We're not talking about ricin tonight. We're going to save that for locals. Chat, remember, we'll see you guys over at potentiallycriminal.locals.com, the after show. So, chat, remember until next time, you guys, remember until next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Unless you're the Tates, you're probably guilty. Unless you're Diddy, you're probably guilty. Yesterday, you stabbed, you murdered your son. You're probably guilty too. A lot of people guilty. If you're pumping the Epstein files, you're guilty of being a tool. A lot of people are guilty out there, chat, but not you. Not you. You're good. You're good people. You're good people. So, chat, thank you to everybody on Rumble, Twitter, and YouTube. Locals, I will see you guys soon. Good night, everybody, and take care.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws. Tips on hunt.
EDW Raptor, thank you for the super chat, saying last super chat. Thank you.
Hunting and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk.
Okay, now I guess we're doing this. Squizguard says nope. Maddie B says Sean is gay. I mean, you could have done that for free. Thank you. Remember, Chad, we got to read them all.
Cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops, just
we're going all night, chat, from EW Raptor. Not here. Not here.
did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy Rick hated yelled at? Why, yes it was, he even knows he's fat. For all this fun and more, there's one place to go. Here on Sean Martin's Potentially Criminal Show.
N. Thank you, Sellers.